Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you are listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rox, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we will be diving into your December horoscopes. Before we do that, let me remind you of a few important things. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, therefore all videos on my channel and all episodes on my podcast follow Western tropical astrology. In my practice, I use the whole sign house system. So if you use a different house system, such as Placidus or equal houses, then that's absolutely fine. Just so you know, all videos on my channel and also all client work that I do follows the whole sign house system. Speaking of client work, if you want to work with me, if you would like me to analyze your natal chart, if you would like me to look into the year ahead for you and do an in-depth forecast, that uses a combination of techniques, including annual perfections, transits, firdaria, secondary progressions, then you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. You can go to the services section, and in the services section, you will find the various types of consultations that I offer. If you're a new client, then you can go straight to the 1-hour live Zoom consultation option for new clients. In this type of session, we can, like I said, analyze your natal chart or look into the year ahead or analyze your compatibility with your partner or soon to be partner. We can also go more in depth into specific areas of interest, such as the relationship sector, such as career and vocation, such as spirituality. So this type of consultation, the 1-hour consultation, is completely customizable to your needs. Any topics of interest that you have, any questions that you would like to address to an astrologer, you can bring them all and we will dive into them together. Now, if you are an existing client, then you may be interested in a year ahead forecast that is based off of your natal chart. And for existing clients only, I have another option, which is called the year ahead forecast. And you will also find that option on my channel. Also, on my website. Also, if you're an existing client and you want to do a follow-up, you want to do a check-in, you want to look at a few months ahead to see what you can prepare for, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, or if you have specific questions related to your natal chart, related to specific areas in your life or natal chart, there's also another option for you, which is called the 30 minutes follow-up consultation. So you have a few choices to pick from on my website in terms of services. Just so you know, when I'm filming this, and I've started to film this on the 15th of November, I'm already taking bookings for the second half of December and the first part of January 2023. So if you would like to book in your session before the end of the year or early next year, then I would recommend that you move sooner rather than later. Let's go back to the astrology of December 2022. What can we expect from this month? I'll tell you this. Overall, it is a much less shocking and a much less disruptive month compared to November. November has been all over the shop. We've obviously had the eclipse in the first part of the month. There have been so many things happening. Massive layoffs, redundancies for these big tech companies, a lot of protests, a lot of disruption, I'd say, from an economic perspective. Things are settling a little bit. A little bit is the key phrase here. Compared to November, December may feel a bit more like a breeze, or sometimes like this, let's call it fiery wind. Why fiery wind? I'm sorry folks, sometimes I just make up metaphors on the spot and I realize they may not be the best, but as long as they convey the message that I'm trying to convey, that's all that matters, right? In December, on the 8th of December, we have a full moon in Gemini, which is conjunct Mars in Gemini. This is going to be an angry full moon, folks. I kid you not. This is probably going to be one of the most significant celestial events during the Mars retrograde in Gemini transit. We know, or if you don't, now you do, lunations generally have a tendency to focus our attention on something, to draw things to our attention, to put the spotlight on something. So this particular full moon is really going to put the spotlight on all things Mars in Gemini retrograde, right? Disruption on the roads, angry words that backfire, frustrations that blow up out of nowhere, people saying things that they don't mean to say, people misusing words, misusing communication. Feeling tremendous frustration connected with all matters that have to do with transportation, messages, sending messages across to other people, not being able to reach the right people, feeling frustration when it comes to educational matters, when it comes to taking exams, I would say. It's not an easy full moon. There is something that basically saves this full moon. Both luminaries, both the sun and the moon, are applying to a harmonious aspect with Saturn in Aquarius. So it's not exact, but they are applying to a harmonious aspect to Saturn. It would be a good idea to exercise some restraint in terms of what we say, in terms of who we speak to, in terms of how quick we are to react verbally to something. We might not have the full picture. We might not see or understand things very clearly. We might also realize that what we thought was the truth was actually incorrect and inaccurate, and that could make us all very angry, right? But Saturn says, calm down. No kind of like sudden moves. Don't rush into anything. There will be a tendency to rush at this full moon. I'm putting it out there. There may be accidents on the road, accidents also in the sky, potentially accidents connected with foreign lands, foreign countries, and not just accidents. There could just be a lot of chaos, because Mars in Gemini likes a bit of chaos connected with maybe miscommunication, maybe people not realizing that their flights have been delayed, and so on. I would also look back at the time of this full moon to the new moon that we experienced at the end of May, on the 30th of May in Gemini, right? Because this full moon may bring things to completion somehow. It may determine us to look back at what was going on 6 months ago, at what started 6 months ago, and we might see, okay, we have reached a peak here. We have reached the end of the road, or we are seeing the results of the seeds that were planted end of May, beginning of June, okay? I'm going to make a recommendation, and I'm going to make it for everyone. Careful what you say around this full moon. You may not know the full picture. Careful with a holier than thou attitude. Being self-righteous is all good and fine, but no one is perfect, right? What does it say in the Bible? You can tell that I don't actually read the Bible that much, but it says something along the lines of, whoever has no sin, let them throw the first stone, or something along those lines. This is such a perfect mantra to remember at the time of this full moon. We've all made mistakes, so let's not be too quick to judge and cast stones at those that were wrong at some point. This is probably going to be one of the most disruptive celestial events of the month of December. Now I'm going to go back in time a little bit. On the 2nd of December, we've got a Mercury in Sagittarius square Neptune in Pisces. Speaking of confusion and ambiguity and maybe even disappointment connected with traveling, short distance travel, long distance travel, also confusion and ambiguity related to shipments, related to deliveries. Of course, it's December. Everyone is ordering stuff. A lot of packages might get lost in the mail, or they might be misplaced. The 2nd of December is a particularly significant date for this type of events, this type of occurrences. On the 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in Pisces. It went retrograde end of June at 25 degrees of Pisces, and now it's finally moving direct. Neptune, do keep in mind, is a generational planet, so you may not feel it that strongly on a personal level unless it contacts some of your natal planetary placements or angles, especially if you've got planets or angles between, let's say, 22 to 26 degrees of mutable signs. The mutable signs being Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. All right. On the 4th of December, the Sun is also trining Chiron in Aries. The Sun in Sagittarius is trining Chiron in Aries. We might hear news, so at a collective level, about some form of win in a court of law for the underdog. So watch out for that. I mean, it can very well be good news, right? On the 6th of December, Mercury enters Capricorn, and it's actually going to spend quite a bit of time in Capricorn because at the end of the month, on the 29th of December, Mercury goes retrograde. It goes retrograde until the 18th of January, and I will even tell you the degrees at which it is going retrograde, or the degrees in between which you will apparently notice. Mercury appears to go retrograde. It doesn't actually physically goes retrograde. It's a geocentric perspective, right? So I'm going to give you the degrees to watch out for in your own natal chart and to see if this retrograde is actually activating any of these degrees. So the retrograde starts at 24 degrees of Capricorn and it ends at 8 degrees of Capricorn. So if you've got planets in cardinal signs or angles, the ascendant, the midheaven, in cardinal signs, somewhere between 7 to 25 degrees of Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, this Mercury retrograde speaks to you. It is speaking directly to you. Remember that you're not going to feel all transits. You're not going to feel all celestial events. You're going to feel the most the ones that activate your natal chart. That is why the natal chart is called the root prediction. And if you don't know what your natal chart looks like, if you don't understand your natal chart, if you haven't had someone analyze it in depth, if you haven't studied it in depth, then I would strongly recommend taking a bit of a step back and doing that first and foremost so that you can benefit even more from forecasts, right? And even from general horoscopes like this one. On the 12th of December, the Sun in Sagittarius is sextiling Saturn in Aquarius. I'm liking this. I mean, it can very well be a day in which it feels a little bit easier to put efforts into something that we strongly believe in. On the 14th of December, the Sun in Sagittarius is squaring Neptune in Pisces. The Sun is bringing our attention towards Neptune in Pisces matters. Remember that Neptune is now direct. So we could read in the media, we could see things in the news, it could be all over the shop. We could feel like we are directed to pay attention to topics that have to do with the suffering of others, topics that have to do with drugs, escapism, also topics that have to do with entertainment, virtual reality, and so on. On the 17th of December, Mercury in Capricorn is trining Uranus in Taurus. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this is probably quite a good day, or maybe a day of auspicious news connected with the economy in some shape or form, or connected with the environment in some shape or form. I know that the economic prospects of so many countries are not necessarily looking great right now. That doesn't mean that there can't be some small wins along the way. And a very, very, very important event astrologically, depending on where you are in the world, on the 20th of December or the 21st of December. So I repeat, you can kind of like adjust this for your own time zone. I'm going to tell you exactly when on the 20th of December, at what time, Jupiter goes back into Aries, right? So let's see. It goes back into Aries on the 20th of December at 2:33 GMT time in the afternoon. So I repeat, adjust that for your own time zone. Anyway, remember 20th, 21st of December, the great benefic is moving back into the house of Mars, because Aries is a sign ruled by Mars. It may feel like some of the opportunities, some of the growth that you may have taken steps towards earlier this year, between the 10th of May until, let's see. So from the 10th of May until the 28th of October, it may feel like some of the growth that you initiated throughout this period in the first part of the year is coming back to your attention, and you are being supported somehow in moving further down that path of growth, that path of expansion, that path of opportunity. Jupiter in Aries, in order for us to take advantage of the opportunities that it offers, it does require a lot of courage. It's not a Jupiter in Pisces energy. Jupiter in Pisces is more passive, more receptive, more kind of like attracting things to us. To take advantage of Jupiter in Aries opportunities, you got to move forward. You got to take some form of action. Otherwise, probably nothing's going to happen, right? And if things do happen, they're probably going to move at a very, very fast pace. So become comfortable with the idea that things will probably shift very rapidly, folks. Let's see what else is happening in December. The sun moves into Capricorn on the 21st of December, so Capricorn season begins. By the way, Jupiter is going to be in Aries until the middle of May of 2023, in case you are wondering. And then it's not going to return to Aries for another 12 years, right? So 21st of December, Capricorn season begins. The sun moves into Capricorn. Then on the 22nd of December, the sun in Capricorn is squaring Jupiter in Aries. We've got this clash between fast growth and an appreciation of tradition, an appreciation of caution, an appreciation of prudence, of discipline, of control, which is not exactly what the great benefic wants. But it may feel like that is what people or the collective place a great deal of importance on at this moment in time. On the 23rd of December, we have a new moon in Capricorn squaring Jupiter in Aries, right? So some form of a new structural beginning in our life that also is asking us to change our ways in a manner that feels risky. And like I said, last but not least, on the 29th of December, Mercury goes retrograde until the 18th of November. And actually on the 29th of December, Mercury will conjunct Venus in Capricorn. We have a packed month here, folks. Pay attention to Jupiter coming back into Aries, but also pay attention to the fact that we are going to have two significant planets, two what we call personal planets, retrograde, end of December throughout January. Mars is still retrograde until the 12th of January. So Jupiter is in the house of Mars and Mars is retrograde. So it's like full speed ahead, but actually we need to revisit the first kind of like, let's say, steps that we have taken in this new exciting direction of our life. And then Mercury goes retrograde from the 29th of December until the 18th of January. And Mercury says it's a good time to rethink things. It's a good time to sit down and really ask ourselves what is feasible, what is not feasible. Are we adding too much to our plate? Those are some of the questions to have a think about, I dare say. One last thing that I didn't flag, on the 10th of December, Venus, so 10th of December 2022, Venus moves into Capricorn all the way until, let's see, all the way until the 3rd of January, right? So that is another transit to pay attention to. My dear Aries, Aries suns and Aries risings, what does December have in store for you? A lot, obviously, and a lot that may have to do with your education, a lot that may have to do with traveling, short distance travel, long distance travel, and also towards the end of the month, it does look like your focus will shift towards your career sector and where you are headed from a professional perspective. So let us dig right in. I want to draw your attention, first and foremost, to the fact that Jupiter, the great benefic, the bringer of good luck, of opportunities, the bringer of expansion, of exploration, Jupiter will re-enter your sign. So for most people that will be, I'm assuming that most of you who are listening to this are Aries risings. Even if you're an Aries sun, this may apply to you, but a little bit to a lesser degree. For most people listening to this forecast, Aries risings, Jupiter will re-enter your first house of identity, of the physical body, of growth, of self-development, and of new beginnings. From the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year. Jupiter has already been in this part of your chart from the 10th of May until the end of October. This is an opportunity for you to continue on the path of growth that you have taken steps on, that you have decided to boldly make a part of your life. Between May until the end of October. I would strongly recommend that you have a think about what you felt drawn to maybe study, to explore from a philosophical perspective, from a belief system perspective, from a maybe also from an academic perspective. If you felt drawn to study something new, if you felt drawn to explore the meaning of life in a new way, if you felt drawn to maybe signing up for a master's or a PhD, or maybe even to get another degree, sometime between the 10th of May until the end of October, Jupiter coming back into Aries might give you a nudge, might give you a push and say, yeah, you got this, you can do it. Jupiter transiting through this part of your chart is also supportive, especially after Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January, because right now Mars is retrograde and Jupiter in Aries is going to be ruled, let's say, by that Mars in retrograde. It is a good time, I repeat, at least after Mars gets out of retrograde, so you may want to wait. It's a good time to think of whether you are interested in growing academically, and if so, to take a leap of faith in that direction. It is also worth asking yourself, is it time to explore a new worldview? Is it time to explore a new set of beliefs? Is it time to explore a new life philosophy? A new set of maybe political beliefs? Is it also time to explore a new culture? The answer might be yes. And if you do decide to kick off some important new chapter of growth on a personal level that involves diving into a foreign culture, that involves traveling to a distant country, that involves immersing yourself into a different lifestyle, into a different way of life. So if you feel drawn to do any of these, my recommendation would be to do so with Jupiter on your side. Jupiter is saying it is time to get out of this, let's say, shell that you have built for yourself, Aries, It is time to challenge yourself in a new direction. And that new direction may have something to do with education, foreign lands, foreign countries, academia. It might also have something to do with spirituality. So you may feel like there's something out there, a different worldview that is going to help you connect with the divine in a new way. You're feeling much more positive. You're feeling much more optimistic. It is a time to take risks. It is a time to take chances. But I repeat, especially after Mars gets out of retrograde. So from the 12th of January onwards, if you ask me, if you feel inspired to travel, I strongly recommend that you do so from the 20th of December until the middle of May, because you may start looking at your life in a new light. It might be more illuminating than you expect it to be, this journey that you feel pulled to embark upon, my dear Aries. You basically have the opportunity to become more than you thought you were with Jupiter on your side. And remember, Jupiter is not going to come back in your house of identity and the house of new beginnings for another 12 years from May onwards. So do keep that in mind, my lovely Aries. Another very significant event that is happening in December is the following. On the 8th of December, give or take 3 days before or 3 days after, you have a full moon in your third house of communication, of siblings, of short distance travel, of exams, of learning. And this full moon is in conjunction to Mars, your chart ruler. There is a chance that you may hear news of an exam. The thing is that Mars is retrograde, right? So we're not necessarily super excited about this. I'll just put it out there. You may hear news of having to retake an exam, or if you have retaken an exam and you're waiting for the results of that to arrive on your doorstep, then they may finally make their way. To you. Let me also check one more thing. This full moon, by the way, is happening at 16 degrees of Gemini. So if you have planets close to 16 degrees of mutable signs, if you have other planets in your natal chart, not necessarily your sun or your ascendant. So if you have other planets in mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, Virgo, you may feel this full moon the most. So let's see, what is Mercury doing at the time of this full moon? Mercury will have entered Capricorn. This is very interesting. So Aries, you may have to retake an exam, or you may have to study something again that has to do with your career advancement, I dare say. You could also either feel compelled to travel or feel compelled to postpone a journey due to work-related reasons. If you do travel for work, I would be very careful what you say, not to put your foot in your mouth, because you might speak too fast and you might say things that you're not necessarily supposed to say, and then you might regret it because it could negatively impact your relationship with a boss. This is also a time of frustration on the road. There could be experiences that involve your car breaking down, or delays with the trains, maybe also fighting with a neighbor, or fighting with someone on the train, or someone on the road. That's certainly a possibility. The good news at the time of this full moon is that Saturn is forming a harmonious aspect with both luminaries, both the sun and the moon. Remember your long-term goals at this time, Aries. So even if you are delayed on the road, even if you have to postpone a trip or a journey, even if you have to retake an exam, even if the result that you have received connected with a process of learning, or a process of selling something, or of purchasing something, even if the results are not exactly what you thought they would be, remember to keep your eyes on the prize and on the long-term goal, because I'd say that whatever news you are receiving, it is somehow still contributing in a positive manner to your long-term goals, even if it's not exactly in the format that you thought it would contribute, I dare say. And if you are in a pickle, if your car breaks down in the middle of the road, it does feel like there is most likely a friend that can step in and help you fix things. So don't feel like you have to do everything by yourself. Careful, you could have arguments with people on this day. You are likely to have arguments with people on this day. Remember the grand scheme of things. Remember your long-term goals and plans. That's my recommendation, Aries, is this argument that you're having on this day and around the time of this full moon, 8th of December, a few days before, a few days after. Is this contributing to your long-term goals? If not, then why the hell, my apologies, pardon my French, why are you wasting your time with it? You don't have to prove to anyone that you're right, even though you may really try very hard to prove to people that you're right around this time. Another significant event in December, my lovely Aries, 29th of December until the 18th of January, Mercury goes retrograde in Capricorn. Okay, so it goes retrograde in your 10th house of career. You may experience some delays connected with your career advancement around this time, or you might just have to wait until pretty much the second half of January for things to move forward career-wise. You might need to postpone some conversations with bosses if you were I don't know, for instance, preparing for an interview, or if you were prepared to have your boss announce your promotion. It might be postponed until later in January, right? Mercury is also, let's see. It is also the ruler of your third house. So if you were planning to do some sort of like team reunion with old colleagues, maybe people that you have worked with in the past, Mercury retrograde is actually quite helpful. So from the 29th of December until the 18th of January, it might be a good idea to get together with people that you've worked with in the past, because they could have potentially some opportunities for you. It is a time of looking back at the past and maybe strengthening some of those old connections, I'd say. It could also be a good idea to reach out to old clients, and you may actually have quite a few conversations with people that you have worked with in the past, not just colleagues, but also clients. Something interesting might come out of it. So do take advantage of this Mercury retrograde. Now, I realized that I went straight to the end of the month, but I did want to take you through the most significant events of December, my dear Aries. On the 1st of December, Venus in your 9th house is opposing Mars in Gemini in the 3rd house. You may have to pay a little bit more than you thought you'd have to pay for a trip, most likely, or for something that has to do with your education. Maybe the fee for an exam is higher than you thought it would be. You may also feel like someone is asking you to compromise on your opinions so that you do not trigger certain people because of their cultural or religious or spiritual background, right? I'm not necessarily liking the 2nd of December because there may be some confusion or a sense of disappointment connected with long distance travel when Mercury is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 12th house. Also some ambiguity when it comes to potentially legal matters, my dear Aries. On the 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in your 12th house, and Venus is squaring Neptune in Pisces in the 12th house. Again, it really feels like you are being asked to compromise on some of your beliefs at this point in time. But the question to ask yourself is, what am I really winning by trying to impose my beliefs upon someone else, right? On the 6th of December, Mercury enters Capricorn in your 10th house of career, and as I mentioned, it goes retrograde at the end of the month. On the 10th of December, Venus also moves into Capricorn. until the 3rd of January. Venus transiting your 10th house of career. Venus, by the way, is the ruler of your 2nd house and of your 7th house of relationships. Venus does kind of like put in a good word for you with bosses. If you've got, let's say, interviews or stuff like that, Venus is giving you that extra dose of charm when you approach others. People in positions of authority, bosses, potential managers, leaders are likely to say yes to you more, I would say. Venus transiting the 10th house is also a very enjoyable time out into the world, in public, in the public sphere, in the public life. You may enjoy getting out of the house, being socially active, being seen by others. You may feel very valued, very appreciated throughout this transit in the outside world, and especially by potential partners or by those who are either authority figures in your life or could become authority figures in your life, my dear Aries. 14th of December, it's a little bit of a tricky one because the Sun is squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 12th house. I will say this here, Aries, you could have too much fun on this day, and if you're having too much fun, and especially if you're traveling or if you're abroad, it could turn a little bit tricky, as in maybe you, I don't know, drink too much on a night out and your phone dies and you realize that you don't know how to get back to your hotel, right? So things like this could happen. There's an energy of excess and intoxication, Aries. I also like the 17th of December. It sounded like I liked the intoxication part. I mean, it's December, right? So no judgment. I like the 17th of December because Mercury is going to trine Uranus and Taurus in your 2nd house, Mercury being in your 10th house of career. There could be some really good news connected with your career advancement, and you could also feel like your work is being appreciated, my dear Aries. So I'm liking this. I'm liking this day. If you are a Taurus sun or a Taurus rising, my dear Taurians, what can you expect from the month of December? It's a very exciting month. It is a very exciting month for you, especially. I want to say, why is it so exciting? Because it does feel like things are moving forward. I wanna say, when it comes to matters that have to do with shared assets, shared resources, mortgage, investments. Your partner's finances. So let me not get ahead of myself. On the 1st of December, Venus in Sagittarius in your 8th house is opposing Mars in Gemini in the 2nd house. You may feel like you have to make a bit of a compromise. If you want to team up with someone, it may feel like you need to make a bit of a compromise on some of your values and maybe on how you have approached partnerships up until this point, my dear Taurians. You may also feel like someone is telling you to potentially soften your approach a little bit in communications that have to do with finances, I dare say. Then on the 2nd of December, Mercury in your 8th house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 11th house. You may feel compelled by some of your friends to spend more than you wanted to spend, potentially on a fun day out. Careful, because you do not want to max out your credit card as a result of people just having a jolly good time. There is a possibility that this could happen. I'll just put it out there. If you're signing anything that involves a legal agreement or anything that has to do with money, I would not rush and I would not sign anything that seems to kind of like slapdash, because there might be some stuff that needs to be revisited and that was glossed over even though it was important. On the 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in your 11th house, so it may feel like after a bit of a slowdown from June onwards, your plans for the future are finally getting a push forward. Once again, Venus is squaring Neptune in the 11th house. Careful what sort of agreements you're getting into financially. Careful not to overpromise and underdeliver. I am of the belief that it's better to underpromise and overdeliver, but you may feel compelled to say that you can do more than you can actually do for a partner around this time, especially a business partner. So I would maybe take a bit of a step back when it comes to that, and also clarify what are their expectations of you, Taurus. On the 6th of December, Mercury moves into Capricorn in your ninth house. So your mind is going to be on legal matters, traveling, and so on. 8th of December, you've got a full moon activating your second house, 8th house axis. It's forming a harmonious aspect to Saturn and Aquarius in your 10th house. So it does feel like some form of financial agreement is being reached when it comes to some of your long-term goals career-wise. You may reach an agreement with a business partner, but you may also be quite quick to sign it. I would not be that quick to sign before you have maybe someone who is very well educated in kind of like understanding these types of contracts. I wouldn't be that quick to sign before you have this type of person read through whatever it is that you are signing up for. This could also be a time when you make a very significant payment to potentially a collaborator or a partner. When it comes to your business, I would say this is payday. You're receiving money, you're also paying money. You could be covering some debt. All in all, it does feel like you are clearing out some of your financial obligations so that you can focus on what you're building career-wise, Taurus. 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus enters Capricorn in your 9th house. Venus is your chart ruler. It may feel very enjoyable to travel, to go out to museums, to the theater, social occasions. You may feel very invested in educational matters and also in matters that have to do with your belief system, spirituality. You may also feel like you're having a very good time out into the world and maybe also connecting with significant people that can help you in your career moving forward, I dare say. Now, when it comes to traveling, I would be a little bit careful because Mercury retrograde begins on the 29th of December. So whilst Venus is in your 9th house, Mercury retrograde begins in your 9th house from the 29th of December until the 18th of January. I'm not saying don't travel. I'm saying you could travel to places that you've been to whilst Mercury is retrograde. I'm also saying please be prepared for, I don't know, flights to be delayed, potential cancellations. Get travel insurance if you have to. Also make sure that you are keeping your passport safe, that you have all the required documents with you. You may have to pay more than you thought you would have to pay for some travel related matters or matters that have to do with visas, residency, education, and so on whilst Mercury is retrograde. And things might actually start to slow down a little bit when it comes to advancing with a legal matter or anything that has to do with your academic situation. Things might slow a little bit down with Mercury retrograde from the 29th of December until the 18th of January, my lovely Taurians. Jupiter goes back into your 12th house in Aries from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year. Jupiter in the 12th house is basically giving you a nudge, is giving you a push to maybe look at the whole topic of spirituality differently. It is actually, I dare say, quite an enjoyable transit if you are planning to take any time off. You may also feel inspired to explore a different connection with your shadow side. So Jupiter might help you understand better from a new perspective in the 12th house how you have been sabotaging yourself, how you have been engaging maybe in self-destructive habits or behaviors. Jupiter is also the ruler of your 11th house, so you may feel inspired whilst it's transiting your 12th house to get away to a retreat maybe with some of your friends, and maybe also to do a bit of a cleanup in your circles of friends, I dare say. You could be saying goodbye whilst Jupiter is transiting your 12th house until the middle of May to some of your old circles, some of your old tribes, my lovely Taurians. It would be a good idea to look back at your life from the 10th of May until the end of October this year and see whether you felt inspired to outgrow certain tribes because they were no longer contributing to your growth. You also seem to get a deeper understanding of some of the maybe crises in your life whilst Jupiter is transiting the 12th house until the middle of May. So you could look back at periods of transition and transformation and say, oh wow, I have learned so much, I have grown so much as a result of these. On the 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in your 9th house, squaring Jupiter in the 12th house. I dare say that this new moon is pushing you, is giving you a nudge, my lovely Taurians. It is giving you a nudge to look at your life from a different angle, from a different perspective, to put your life into perspective and say, has my belief system been too narrow? You are challenged to outgrow some limiting beliefs around this time. Some of you may also embark upon a new journey from a studies perspective. You might start working on a thesis. You may also start studying a spiritual topic around this time that basically challenges you to look at some of your self-destructive, self-sabotage elements of your personality from a different angle, from a different perspective. Let's see. You might also start feeling at home around this time, and maybe even ask yourself, what is home from a philosophical perspective? You might start feeling at home within a new culture, my dear Taurians. I would pay special attention to not having people kind of like, I don't know, double cross you financially. Around the 14th of December, I'm liking the 17th of December as a really auspicious day in terms of traveling and also in terms of sudden but positive news connected with legal matters, visas, residency. You might also have a bit of an epiphany when it comes to your life direction on this day, and you could feel a little bit more connected with the divine purpose of your life. I know that sounds very, very fuzzy, but that's what it feels like, I dare say, Taurians. You might feel inspired to book a trip around this time, maybe a long distance trip around the 17th of December, maybe also the few days before, the few days after. And that is December for you. My dear Geminis, Gemini suns and Gemini risings, what does September look like for you? I'll tell you what it looks like. I will absolutely do that. So first and foremost, I want to draw your attention to some of the most important events in the sky taking place in December. Jupiter re-enters Aries in your 11th house of long-term goals and plans for the future. Jupiter is giving you a boost from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year to move forward when it comes to your long-term goals and plans for the future. Jupiter transiting the 11th house is likely to bring a sense of expansion, a sense of growth, a sense of opportunity when it comes to the groups of people that you are a part of, when it comes to business partners, when it comes to connecting with like-minded individuals, I dare say, Geminis, like-minded individuals that can help you advance professionally, because Jupiter is also not just the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, but also the ruler of your 10th house of career. You may also feel a sense of positivity and optimism when it comes to setting some major goals for the future. And you may also feel like you are supported by meeting, by reaching out, by having others reach out to you, by meeting the right people that can help you make these big goals a reality. I would also look back at your life from the 10th of May until the end of October, Geminis, and have a think about what sort of group projects you initiated, exciting group projects you initiated, exciting business partnerships you entered into, because it may feel like these partnerships are flourishing further, they're blossoming. And in particular, after Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January, because Jupiter in Aries is going to be in the house of Mars, therefore it's going to be subject to the whims of Mars, you could say. In any case, it's a very exciting time. It's a very exciting, let's say, 6 months period, almost 6 months long period, in which it may feel like you are rapidly advancing with the support of others, friends, collaborators. You're rapidly advancing career-wise. I would think big if you ask me, Geminis, and I would think big, especially after Mars gets out of retrograde. I repeat. Another very significant event taking place in December, Geminis, is the following. The two lunations, of course, the full moon on the 8th of December in Gemini, the new moon on the, 23rd of December in Capricorn in your 8th house, and Mercury going retrograde at the end of the month. So let's talk about the full moon. The full moon on the 8th of December, a few days before, a few days after, is bringing to a close, I dare say, personal projects or a chapter that has to do with your relationship sector that was on your radar, that was put on your radar around the end of May, around the 30th of May, maybe a few days before, a few days after. This could be a time when you have a full-blown face-off with a business partner. It could be a business partner. It could also be a romantic partner. This could be a time when you see very clearly the direction in which a relationship is headed. It could be a time when you feel like you really have to open up. You might burst open. I'm going to be very frank. You might burst open in front of a partner and really challenge them on their beliefs. You might reassert your boundaries around this time when it comes to a partnership, when it comes to a collaboration, when it comes to a relationship. You might also decide that a business partnership no longer works for you. The only thing to keep in mind is that you may be acting a little bit rash around this time because the moon is going to be conjunct Mars. So don't say things that you're going to regret, or that's my recommendation. Don't say things that could be used against you, maybe even in a court of law. That's something to also really keep at the top of your mind, Geminis. Mars for you is also the ruler of your 6th house. This could be a time when you say goodbye to a business partner, to someone who you've been working with. You could have also a bit of an open conflict with a colleague. I do strongly recommend that you keep in mind the various maybe cultural differences between you and a business partner or a colleague. This full moon is nicely aspected to Saturn in your 9th house. So if you keep in mind maybe the fact that you're coming from different cultural backgrounds, you may find a way to collaborate with this person, even if you are not aligned from a belief system perspective. You could also be signing the official papers, something that has to do with contractual matters with a partner at this point in time. It could be a romantic partner. It could be a business partner. Careful not to act rashly. That's my only thing. Read the contracts carefully, closely. Be careful what you sign up for. I mean, you could be a little bit in a hurry, too much in a hurry, with Mars in your first house. And also, don't feel like you have to hold in what you actually want out of this partnership, because sometimes Mars retrograde does manifest in that way. We kind of like keep to ourselves what we actually want, and then we become frustrated. Now, the new moon on the 23rd of December in Capricorn in your 8th house is squaring Jupiter in the 11th house of long-term goals and plans for the future. So this is a new beginning. New seeds are being planted. When it comes to a financial partnership, it could also be a time of new beginnings for your partner, life partner. From a financial perspective, you may feel like they're being pushed, they're being challenged to grow. Maybe they're being challenged to take on more responsibilities at work. They have received a raise, but now they're feeling a little bit stressed because there's a lot on their plate, on the plate of a partner. Let's see, Geminis. This could also be a time when you receive news connected with a loan or with a mortgage or with an investment. Now, if you do have a loan or if you do have credit of any type, this could be news of interest rates going up, and you may have to revisit your plans for the future as a result of a more significant financial burden being placed upon you. This could be a new beginning in terms of how you also approach the whole topic of taking money from other people, other institutions, and so on. Obviously, like having loans, having credits is it's a reality of life, but you may feel like you need to look at this sector of your life a little bit differently, because things are kind of like going through this state of inflation. I mean, I know that I'm saying stuff that is quite obvious if you listen to the news, but the interference of Jupiter, I'd say, at the time of this new moon is saying, really, can you afford to take on this big a loan? And can you afford to pay this big an interest rate? That's only for you to answer, my dear Geminis. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a step back. I've taken you through the most important events astrologically of December. Here are some of the other dates and days to pay attention to. On the 1st of December, you could have a quarrel, you could have an argument with a romantic partner, with Mars in your first house in opposition to Venus in the 7th house of relationships. It could feel like a partner is asking you to compromise on something that you know for a fact. And they could be saying, yeah, but maybe it's not that black and white. And you're like, no, it's a fact. Here are the numbers. So you could be feeling a little bit triggered in that instance. It may also feel like a partner is asking you to compromise on something that you feel very strongly about when it comes to the topic of children, my dear Geminis. If you're not in a relationship, but if you are open to dating, to meeting someone, this could be a day filled with sparks. Chemistry sometimes is very tense. It's a tense day, but there could be sexual tension in the air. So now you know. On the 2nd of December, you may have a little bit of a misunderstanding type of situation at work, in a professional environment, especially when it comes to one of your bosses, my dear Geminis. I would triple check that they have correctly understood your message, because they probably haven't. And if they haven't been responding to, I don't know, one of your emails, I would check in with them, because maybe your email got stuck in their spam folder, or maybe it got stuck in your out box. 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in your 10th house of career. So it may feel like things are starting to move forward career-wise. It may feel like you have more of a direction career-wise, whereas before there was a sense of a little bit of like fog of not knowing exactly where you're headed, especially from the end of June. Let's see. 4th of December, you may also feel inspired to make a compromise in a professional environment, just because you really want someone to like you. But just because you really want someone to like you doesn't mean that you can't stand up for yourself, right? So careful, because if you do make a compromise, you might feel quite nasty about it afterwards. 6th of December, Mercury enters Capricorn in your 8th house. So your mind is very much going to be on investments, shared assets, the finances of your partner, and so on. On the 10th of December, Venus enters Capricorn in your 8th house until the 3rd of January. Venus for you, my dear Geminis, is the ruler, let's see, of your 12th house and of your 5th house. You may feel much more inspired to buy gifts to other people. You may feel more generous. You may feel like, yeah, here's my money, or here's all of these nice things that I'm buying for you. And it makes sense, of course, because it's December and a lot of people are going to buy gifts and presents. Just be careful not to get into debt because of that, because that is a possibility. You might overgive. It is a very enjoyable time from an intimate life perspective, Venus in the 8th house. So I repeat, from the 10th of December until the 3rd of January. And there could, especially around the 17th of December, there could be some interesting maybe opportunities for investment coming your way, I dare say, Geminis. Let's see. I like the 17th of December also in terms of you having a bit of an aha moment about something that has been eating you up on the inside, something that's been giving you anxiety, something connected with your past, or something connected with your home and family life and your living situation. A crisis seems to almost like miraculously be solved around this time, or you might miraculously come up with a solution, because sometimes miracles do act through people and also through our own mind, our own brilliant minds. Sometimes we get like these like random ideas out of nowhere that basically help us solve conundrums that we've been racking our brains with for quite some time. Mercury retrograde begins on the 29th of December until the 18th of January in your 8th house. I would be careful whatever it is that you sign, whatever it is that you say, whatever it is that you talk about with others when it comes to investments, when it comes to mortgages, loans, shared assets, shared resources, inheritance. Things could slow down if you're expecting some sort of response when it comes to a mortgage, for instance. Things could probably slow down whilst Mercury is retrograde, and you might also have to revisit your, let's say, tax kind of like documents. You might need to file in some new tax documents, or you might need to make some outstanding payments. You might also have to rediscuss with your partner, especially life partner or business partner. You might need to rediscuss some of the financial agreements that you have set in place, Geminis, whilst Mercury is retrograde. I would be very careful when it comes to making new investments with Mercury retrograde, just because you might change your mind after the retrograde is over. So just putting it on your radar. Of course, I'm no financial advisor, and you are completely responsible for everything that you do with your money. And that is December for you, my dear Geminis. Cancerians, my Cancerian brothers and sisters, how are you all? How are you? Well, I'll tell you this, Cancerians, you got a very busy December. I mean, I'm looking at myself. December is, to say that December is packed would be an understatement. November and December are actually, for me as a consulting astrologer, in January actually as well, they are some of the busiest months of the year. Of course, because everyone wants to get in their personal consultation, their year ahead forecast, until the end of the year or early in 2023. The good news is that you continue to have Venus in your 6th house of day-to-day work, Cancerians. Transiting Venus is there until the 10th of December, so you are enjoying the work that you are doing, maybe more so than you normally would on a day-to-day basis. So we're not talking here about the profession you're in. We're talking here about literally what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Then from the 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus moves into your 7th house in Capricorn. A very beautiful, enjoyable time when it comes to the area of relationships. Your partner might surprise you with beautiful gifts. They might surprise you with some romantic kind of like times at home. You could also feel very kind of like inspired to enjoy life together with a partner and with your circle of friends throughout this period. And if you're single and if you are interested in going into a relationship, then this is a great time to be social and to go out on dates, because you might just connect with someone that really, what are they gonna do? They're really gonna float your boat. I know. I need to update my metaphors. I need to update the expressions that I use. I read all the time, but sometimes I read these like old books. So I read all the time, obviously, to like expand my vocabulary, and also because I like reading. But I read a lot of like old astrology books and like stuff that isn't necessarily very modern. So I realized that I pick up expressions that are making me sound like a vintage movie. Anyway, very fitting for a Cancer rising, as in myself, right? So enjoy the transit of Venus through your 7th house of relationships, Cancerians. There's quite a bit happening in your 7th house of relationships, especially in the second half of the month, or maybe even as Mercury on the 6th of December and Venus on the 10th enter your 7th house of relationships. You even have on the 23rd of December a new one in your 7th house in Capricorn, squaring Jupiter and Aries in your 10th house of career and public status and public reputation. This could be a time when a new relationship begins. It could be a romantic relationship that basically challenges the existing reputation that you have created for yourself. It could be a romantic relationship that also possibly has a little bit of a tinge of a conflict of interest, because maybe you met this person at work, or maybe you work together and you're thinking, okay, are we going to make the announcement at work that we're dating? what's going to happen, and so on. You might actually change your mind about moving forward really quickly with a relationship whilst Mercury is retrograde from the 29th of December until the 18th of January. A partnership may slow down throughout this period with Mercury retrograde. You may also revisit old business partnerships, old collaborations throughout this period, my dear Cancerians. Mercury for you is also the ruler of the third house, so it may feel like you have to revisit a certain, let's say, sale or purchase that you are planning or that you were planning to engage in together with a partner, be it a business partner or a romantic partner, I'd say. There is a chance, of course, with Mercury retrograde in your 7th house of relationships, from the 29th of December until the 18th of January, there's a chance that you may reconnect with an ex-partner, romantically, or an ex-professional collaborator. If possible, I would not sign a new agreement business-wise with a partner whilst Mercury is retrograde. I would wait until after the 18th of January at least, if that is a possibility, because you may need to revisit the contract anyway. So just putting it out there. There could also be some misunderstandings with partners and generally when it comes to interactions with other people whilst Mercury is retrograde from the 29th of December until the 18th of January. So I would double check. I would make sure that people have understood the message that you are trying to send across correctly. I would double check with them that you are on the same page. People might also cancel on you at the last minute, or they might fiddle with your schedule, with your diary, even though you had agreed to get together, to meet up, etc., etc., whilst Mercury is retrograde in this part of your chart. Now, a few additional key events that are happening in December, Cancerians. I'm obviously super excited about Jupiter re-entering Aries in your 10th house of career. Jupiter is the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work and also the ruler of your 9th house of foreign lands and foreign countries. With the Jupiter in your 10th house of career from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, you are likely to go through a process of growth and expansion professionally. For some people, this could mean a new position, like a step up professionally. For some people, this could mean feeling inspired to step into a new industry. So to really go out of your comfort zone and say, I am boldly stepping into this new type of business. I believe in it. It is something that I'm invested in terms of beliefs. It is something that I'm excited about. I know that it's a little bit risky. Jupiter in Aries likes risk. So if you want to take advantage of opportunities with this transit in your 10th house of career, it is a protective transit. Jupiter is considered to be the great protector. If there was ever time to take chances career-wise, it's with Jupiter in your 10th house of career. Jupiter is saying, yeah, go, fly. Try out a new industry, start your own business, be more independent, apply for that promotion, go into a new field, go into a new sector, and maybe a sector that, I repeat, is more aligned with what you believe in from a philosophical standpoint, from a belief system perspective. Do you find meaning to the work that you do? Is it aligned with your core beliefs? If not, what is more aligned with your core beliefs in terms of profession? I would, however, wait for Mars to get out of retrograde on the 12th of January before you make any sudden moves in the direction of a new, let's say, industry, or in the direction of a new risky but also challenging in a good way, in an uplifting way, endeavor career-wise. You're probably going to grow career-wise anyway until the 10th of, until the middle of May of next year. My recommendation is to ride the wave of growth and expansion of Jupiter, to challenge yourself, to take action, to take bold action, to maybe expand your business into a new market, to address yourself to a new audience, to maybe also bring what you have learned theoretically into the structure of your profession, I dare say, whilst Jupiter was transiting Pisces, which was for most of this year, most of 2022, from the beginning of the year until the 10th of May, and also from the 28th of October until the 20th of December. There's a full moon on the 8th of December, a full moon in Gemini, activating your axis of service and work. I do believe this could be a time when you give up on a job or when you feel pushed. I'm laughing because you may feel so done with a job. You may feel so done with an existing work situation, so done with an existing work environment, so kind of like over it, over and out. That you're like, no, this has got to go. Now, you may want to move faster than you can actually move in letting this go. You may want to postpone a little bit whilst Mars is retrograde. Maybe the handing in of your resignation. So you might want to pace yourself. But I do believe that you are likely to feel a little bit angry and over. As if this is a time to close things up. When it comes to an existing work setup. And this could also be a time when an existing team member is leaving at work and you feel completely kind of like taken by surprise. But at the same time, this is also giving you a nudge in looking at where you are professionally and asking yourself, why am I still trying to revive a dead horse? Is that the expression? Anyway. So it might remind you, if someone is leaving from your workplace around this time, it might remind you that you want to move forward as well and that you're no longer invested. This could also be a time when you have to take a bit of a break work-wise. You might be feeling mentally drained. You might be feeling physically drained. It could be a combination of both. It does feel like a bit of an exhausting time, but it also feels like you're wrapping up a significant work-related project. I dare say, my dear Cancerians, 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after. Other significant events happening in December of 2022. On the 1st of December, I dare say you may feel like you have to swallow your words at work in order to maintain cordial relationships with someone, with Venus in your 6th house opposing Mars and Gemini in the 12th house. On the 2nd of December, you may feel frustrated because you've got too much work on your plate and you cannot daydream about your travels, or just because you don't know exactly what your work is going to look like. There is a bit of a lack of clarity as to whether you can move forward with your plans to travel or to study. On the 4th of December, there could be a little bit of like, I want to say, disillusionment at work with a relationship, a connection that you have formed, that you had formed in the past. Now it feels less reliable. So let's say you thought that you were working really well with someone and all of a sudden you realize that they're actually not as reliable as you thought they were. I would be very, very careful what you spend your money on the 14th of December. You might spend your money on things that don't actually work, especially for health-related purposes. You might feel like, oh, yes, this is a miracle cure, but actually it does nothing, or it could be very unclear what it actually does. I'm liking the 14th of December. It feels like a very productive day of collaboration with friends, with groups of people, and maybe also with a business partner. You could also have a partner giving you a fabulous idea on how to move forward practically, pragmatically with one of your long-term goals and plans. I would strongly recommend going out and even talking about your work around this time in a group type of environment, because you might get some really valuable nuggets from people in conversation that you did not expect to get around this time on how to proceed forward with your goals, Cancerians. And that is December for you. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings. What can you expect this month? What can you expect from December of 2022? A lot of fun, folks. A lot of fun. Sometimes too much fun to be had this month. A little bit less fun to be had maybe in the last week of December, as there's going to be a lot of energy concentrated in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health. But especially in the first half of the month, it is on. I kid you not. So Venus is going to be transiting your 5th house of enjoyment. Venus is the planet of enjoyment, of pleasure, and it's transiting the 5th house of fun, of partying, of going out, of having a good time, all the way until the 10th of December. So you can take advantage as much as possible of this particular transit, Leos. Venus for you is the ruler of your 10th house and of your 3rd house. So I feel like the most fun to be had is with work colleagues and at work-related events, especially for Leo risings. Now, on the 1st of December, Venus in your 5th house is opposing Mars in Gemini in the 11th house. If you're going out around this time, if you're attending a party or something of this nature, I would stay away from maybe some rowdier groups of people, because they could come at you. They could kind of like challenge you verbally. They might ruin a little bit the mood, just putting it out there. Then on the 2nd of December, Mercury in your 5th house of enjoyment is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 8th house. I would be mindful of who pays when you're going out. So if you're attending a party or something of that nature, I would make sure that you're buying a round of drinks as well. I would also make sure that you are not overspending, because there can be a tendency to overspend as you are being prodded by, let's say, less rules, people that are not necessarily mindful of the rules around this time. I would also make sure, if you're the one paying the bill when you're going out to a party, to an event, I would make sure to really go through the bill very carefully to see that you have actually bought all the stuff that is on there, because there could be some confusion around payments on this day, especially payments that have to do with fun activities, and also for those of you who have children, payments related to anything that has to do with your kids, Leos. 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in your 8th house, so a little bit less slowness, a little bit I want to say less of a delay when it comes to mortgages, loans, news connected with these aspects of your life, also maybe connected with inheritance. Also on the 4th of December, Venus in your 5th house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 8th house. Someone that you are romantically involved with may not be exactly who you thought they were, or you could feel like someone has lied to you. Or you may feel prompted to promise more than you can actually give to someone that you're romantically involved with. Just putting it out there. I'm a big believer in under-promising and over-delivering, not the other way around, because that is how you avoid disappointment. But again, I don't have that much Leo in my chart. I have a lot of Capricorn and Aquarius, so a lot of Capricorn and Aquarius energy in my chart. On the 6th of December, Mercury moves into Capricorn in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So your mind is going to start being a little bit more focused on the work that you have to do, maybe also on getting in shape or on taking care of your health, Leos. On the 8th of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, you're experiencing a full moon activating your 11th house, 5th house axis. The moon is in conjunction to Mars in your 11th house. You could have a big fight with a friend around this time, to the point where you decide to cut them out of your life, Leos. You may feel like someone is possibly also attacking you, a friend, and they are attacking something that is very dear to you, maybe one of your passions, one of your hobbies, something that is very close to your heart, I would say. You may feel attacked yourself in a group type of environment around this time, and maybe feel attacked for the way you dress, for the way you present yourself, maybe even for your tastes, Leos. Mars is the ruler of your 9th house and of your 4th house. You could also have a bit of a face-off, a bit of an open argument with a friend when it comes to philosophical kind of like beliefs, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or spiritual beliefs. This can be the time when a collaboration ends, a group type of collaboration ends. You could also be wrapping up a creative project, but it's not exactly being wrapped up maybe in the way that you thought it would get wrapped up. You may decide to wrap it up sooner rather than later just because things haven't unfolded in the way that you thought they would unfold in collaboration with someone else that you've been working with on this particular project. There could also be some really kind of like contradictory opinions being thrown around a dinner table in this social type of environment that involves family members. So you could have fights and arguments around political beliefs, around the meaning of things, around what is morally right and wrong, my dear Leos. This can also be a time when you feel like you need to reevaluate your plans for the future, I dare say. Both luminaries, both the sun and the moon, are nicely aspected to Saturn in Aquarius. If you're feeling very kind of like inflamed after having some debates and conversations, disagreements maybe with family members, with friends, I would check in with a partner, someone who is more kind of like detached and objective and maybe not so easily emotionally stirred up, because their input could help you put things into perspective, Leos. From the 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus transits Capricorn in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So work is likely to feel more enjoyable throughout this period, as well as putting effort and time into looking after your body, taking care of your wellness and your well-being. You may also feel like it's easier to persuade people in a work environment and to collaborate and to connect with colleagues throughout this period. I want to draw your attention to the 14th of December. You may be feeling physically unwell, physically sick. Just putting it out there. Just because you've had too much fun. So you could be hungover, for instance, with the sun squaring Neptune on this day. 17th of December, I really like this day because Mercury in your 6th house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 10th house. Some really positive and unexpected news of things working out beautifully in a work environment. So in a professional environment, when it comes to a collaboration, when it comes to a project, maybe when it comes to signing a deal. So something is really taking shape nicely, but maybe also sooner than you thought it would take shape, Leos. From the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, Jupiter re-enters Aries in your 9th house. This is a period of growth and expansion for you. From a belief system perspective, from a philosophical perspective, from a spiritual perspective, you may feel inspired to study new philosophical systems, to maybe study something like astrology, to kind of like have your horizons expanded because you are diving into this new way of making sense of the universe and of basically the meaning of life. You may also feel like you're attracting more opportunities to study and to understand the big picture of it all the way until May of next year. It is a very auspicious time in general to travel to foreign lands and foreign countries, and you may see an uptick in the amount of traveling that you do for pleasure. I would strongly recommend, if you can, however, maybe not necessarily traveling to new places until Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January of 2023, because Jupiter is going to be in the house of Mars in Aries. You may also feel like you are attracting maybe new teachers, new mentors with Jupiter transiting your 9th house until the middle of May of next year. And they could also help you expand upon the definition of fun, of love, and of enjoyment. Maybe have you look at fun, love, and enjoyment from a different angle, and also help you look at your gifts from a different perspective, at what makes you feel unique and special from a different perspective, my dear Leos. On the 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn in your 6th house, so you may feel physically more invested in the work that you do for the next month or so. On the, let's see, 22nd of December, there could be some sort of agreement that you reach in a very kind of like surprising and unpredictable manner with a colleague or with someone in a position of authority at work. You seem to be very persuasive on this day. On the 23rd of December, you may initiate a new work-related project. You may start off a new job, or you might kick off a new exciting project that is going to require you to potentially travel more, or maybe also to learn more about a different culture, I'd say, and maybe also to approach the whole idea of creative self-expression differently in the work that you do. Why? Because this new one in your 6th house of day-to-day work, 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, is squaring Jupiter in Aries in your 9th house of foreign lands and foreign countries. And Jupiter is also the ruler of your 5th house of creative self-expression. Last but not least, Mercury retrograde begins on the 29th of December until the 18th of January in your 6th house. So if you have initiated like a new work-related project, or if you were supposed to start a new job around the 23rd of December, this could be delayed and postponed until Mercury retrograde is over in January, or before you move forward with this new kind of like let's say work life. You may have to wrap things up in your current workplace. You may have to wrap up old projects. You may have to go back to editing, revisiting, tying up loose ends in a work environment, maybe where you thought that things were already settled and done and dusted. I would be very careful to make sure that all your emails reach their destination, especially in a work environment with Mercury retrograde. And remember that there can be misunderstandings. There can be things that get lost in translation, especially at work with Mercury retrograde in your 6th house until the 18th of January. So keep that in mind, Leos. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, my dear Virgos, what does December have in store for you? Oh man, so much is happening. So much is happening at home. There's quite a bit happening in a professional environment. There's also quite a bit of fun to be had, especially, I want to say after Venus moves into your 5th house of enjoyment from the 10th of December until the 3rd of January. And on the 21st of December, the Sun joins Venus in your 5th house of enjoyment. I like the transit of Venus in your 5th house just because it may feel easier to relax from the 10th of December until the 3rd of January. You may also feel inspired to spend some money on stuff that is making you happy, on stuff that really brings you pleasure, on what makes you feel like, yeah, I could do more of this. I could use more of this in my life. You could buy some like really nice jewelry for yourself. You could also treat yourself maybe to some specific, let's say, treatments that make you feel better in your own skin. You may also feel inspired to, I want to say, spend some money on a big trip that you want to take with Venus transiting your 5th house from the 10th of December until the 3rd of January, my dear Virgos. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to take a step back and kind of like take you through the chronological order of events in December. Sometimes I go off the grid, just freestyle. But I'm going to go more systematic for you Virgos. On the 1st of December, there could be a sense of frustration because a client that is very demanding at work or a boss that is very demanding at work is taking you away from maybe like a very enjoyable like family dinner or a very enjoyable time that you're spending at home with your loved ones, with Venus in your 4th house being opposed by Mars in Gemini in the 10th house of career. Then on the 2nd of December, there could be a little bit of a disagreement connected with a home-related matter, a disagreement with a partner, especially a romantic partner, if you ask me. There could also be maybe some disappointing conversations that you're having with a parent when it comes to your marriage sector or your relationship sector. You could feel disappointed that a parent is telling you, oh, I don't know, maybe you should be doing this in your marriage, or you should have been with someone by this time, something of that nature, right? On the 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in your 7th house of relationships. So it may feel like relationship matters are kind of like getting out of a more ambiguous time, let's say, an ambiguous time that started at the end of June when Neptune went retrograde. You may have to, how should we put it? You may have to also revisit on this day, around the 4th of December, maybe also the day before, the day after. You may have to revisit what your values truly are in relationships, because you may no longer be that clear. In general, it's actually a good idea to reflect around this date on what truly matters for you in relationships, because you may have some surprising revelations, I dare say, Virgos. And these revelations might also determine you to look at your current situation romantically and say, this is not what I want anymore. Just putting it out there. And that doesn't mean that you have to break up with anyone. It just means that you may have to communicate that to the person, to your romantic partner. On the 6th of December, Mercury moves into your 5th house of enjoyment. So the fun already starts to kick in, right? Virgos, you work so much, you deserve a little bit of fun. Even if your definition of fun is probably very different compared to my definition of fun, but you do you, Virgos. On the 8th of December, there's a full moon happening in your 10th house of career. It is in conjunction with Mars. Mars for you, Virgos, is the ruler of your 8th house and of your 3rd house. A crisis seems to be coming to an end at work. Why? Because you may finally decide to say something to a boss that has been crossing your boundaries and constantly asking you maybe to do overtime or to work outside hours. You may feel like enough is enough and you have to assert yourself, and you may need to assert yourself in a work environment around this time. Now, this could also result in you leaving a job and saying that this is too much. This could be a time when a boss also leaves. So this could, again, take you by surprise and maybe make you feel a little bit, how should we say, angry that you've invested so much time in building a strong relationship with this person and now they are leaving. Something is culminating career-wise. Maybe something that was already on your radar professionally around the end of May, around the 30th of May, give or take a few days before, a few days after this year. So something that kicked off professionally is coming to a culminating point around this time, around the 8th of December. This full moon is nicely aspected to Saturn and Aquarius in your 6th house. If you're deciding to leave a job, it's probably because you've got something better lined up. And of course, this could result in, I don't know, a boss shouting at you or saying, how dare you? We've invested so much in you. But even if they do say some nasty things, you will probably know that you have done as good a job as you could have possibly done. And sometimes your sanity is more important than someone telling you that they are disappointed in you and someone getting angry at you. A boss could get angry at you, and maybe that's your cue to say, hold on a second, why am I swallowing this? Why am I just accepting this, right? Just putting it out there, Virgos. On the 12th of December, there seem to be already some really positive developments connected with your work life. You seem to be working from home, maybe being very productive at home on something that you have been building work-wise. On the 14th of December, there seems to be maybe a sense of disappointment with a family member for them having hidden something from you. It could be something that really hurts you because you care so much about them and because you would have probably stepped in to help, I dare say. This could also be a day of leaks, of something breaking in the house, of like water being spilled all over the house, the 14th of December. I like the 17th of December because Mercury in Capricorn is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 9th house. This could be a good day to book a long distance trip. There could be some really good news, some really positive news connected with your education, connected with your studies, connected with academia, connected also with the studies of a child if you have children. It's also a really inspirational day if you go out, if you go to the theater, to the museum, if you attend an event. It could feel like you're getting a lot of inspiration for a project that you're very invested in when you weren't actively looking for this type of inspiration. So you could have some really cool ideas, even when it comes to your career, from what appears to be a very kind of like fun setup around the 17th of December, maybe also the day before and the day after. Jupiter, the great benefic, on the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, re-enters Aries in your 8th house of shared assets and other people's money. So you can expect this to be a period of growth, especially for your partner financially. And it could also be a period of growth, quite an auspicious one, I want to say, from an investments perspective for you. But I wouldn't be too quick to invest, or I wouldn't be too quick to make some moves in this direction, at least until Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January of 2023, right? So if something seems too good to be true in terms of investments, it probably is. I would wait for, of course, you have free will and you can do whatever you please, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I would not bite more than you can chew whilst Mars is retrograde, Mars being the ruler of your 8th house of investments until the 12th of January, right? Jupiter transiting your 8th house from the 20th of December until the middle of May is also a transit that you've experienced this year from the 10th of May until the end of October. So you may experience a continuation of the chapter of growth through business partnerships, through investments, through a partner's resources. So you may experience a continuation of this chapter of growth that started throughout the spring and the summer and the first part of autumn of 2022. You may also feel inspired to learn more about your psyche, about your psychology. You may feel inspired to explore more and to dig more into your past, and maybe also into your kind of like your family secrets, I want to say, to investigate a little bit more. I'll just put it out there. Generally, Jupiter transiting the 8th house can also indicate receiving a gift from the family. Why? Because Jupiter is also the ruler of your 4th house of home. So you may, until the end of this transit, feel more, how should we say, more prosperous by receiving maybe a lump sum of money from the family, or by selling a property, by selling a house. I'll just put it out there. This is also an auspicious period to ask for a mortgage in general, but I would wait, like I said, at least until Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January of next year. 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn in your 5th house of enjoyment. So the spotlight is being placed for the next month on enjoyable activities. On the 22nd of December, Venus in Capricorn in your 5th house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 9th house. A surprisingly romantic day, a day when you connect with someone, when you have great chemistry, when you feel inspired by someone to maybe alter your perspective, when you feel, in a sense, through interaction with someone else, you feel illuminated somehow. It feels like some things are clicking into place in terms of the meaning of your life and in terms of the big picture of your life. I would recommend going out on a date. I would recommend also going out for some sort of like event. It could be an event that combines business with pleasure. It's also an auspicious day for anything and everything connected with traveling and legal matters. 23rd of December, you may discover that you now have a new hobby that you may feel drawn to put effort into moving forward. And Virgos, last but not least, 29th of December, Mercury goes retrograde in your 5th house until the 18th of January, right? What's happening throughout this period? You may revisit old creative projects. You may get back together, or you may get back in touch with old romantic flames. You may think about people that you've been with in the past. You may also feel like you want to go back and maybe edit some of the creative projects that you've worked on in the past, I'd say. You could also feel inspired to explore hobbies from your past somehow. There could be a sense of a romantic connection, maybe also potentially slowing down. So you might think, I don't know if this is going anywhere. There could be some messages that you're not sure what to make of. There could be some mixed signals that you experience, right? You could also go back to reading something that you really enjoyed a while back, and you're getting different insights out of it, my dear Virgos. I would be careful what I say to romantic partners from the 29th of December until the 18th of January, because it could be taken the wrong way. So that's maybe something to keep in mind throughout the Mercury retrograde. You could also take a step back and ask yourself, what do I really like to do for work, and what really brings me a sense of enjoyment professionally? You might be surprised at some of the insights that come through. You may even want to try out something like journaling, a practice like journaling. And that is December for you, my dear Virgos. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings. What does December have in store for you? Well, I got good news, Libras. I mean, I got a mixture of news, but there's one big piece of news that I need to share with you, and I'm very excited for you, especially I'm super excited for Libra risings. What's going on? Jupiter, the great benefic, the bringer of opportunities, the bringer of good luck, the bringer of expansion and of growth, on the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, of 2023, is re-entering your 7th house of partnerships, of committed relationships, of business partnerships, of personal partnerships. You are likely to experience a sense of growth in your life in the sector of romantic relationships, but also possibly business relationships. You may experience new opportunities that are being brought into your life through other people. Jupiter for you, Libras, is also the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work. So there could be significant work opportunities that are being brought into your life by others. If you are single, then this transit is definitely one to be looking forward to, especially if you're open to being in a relationship with someone else. My apologies. Why? Because Jupiter is the yes planet. So if you want to say yes to a partner, because of course we have free will, we can say no. If you want to say yes to a relationship, if you want to say yes to a partnership, Jupiter is helping you. It is supporting you. Jupiter also offers protection. It offers, as I said, a sense of growth and of expansion. So you may feel, if you're already in a relationship, in a committed relationship especially, you may feel like the relationship is growing, it's expanding, it's unfolding, it's developing in this direction that you're very excited about. Jupiter has already been in this part of your chart from the 10th of May until the end of October. Now, from the end of July, Jupiter went retrograde. So you may have actually met someone, you may have connected with a romantic partner, a business partner in 2022 earlier this year. So from the 10th of May until the end of October. But if you felt like the growth of this relationship was somehow put on pause, if you felt like at some point it wasn't really going anywhere, you are really going to be very excited about Jupiter coming back into this part of your chart and saying, yeah, go for it. You can do this. For those of you who are in a relationship already, it may feel like your partner is going through a very auspicious time in their life that you can also benefit from, because you may very well be super happy for them. So they could experience from the 20th of December all the way until the middle of May of next year, they can experience auspicious developments when it comes to their work for instance. Maybe when it comes to feeling more confident, when it comes to their mental health, maybe also when it comes to their relationship with colleagues at work, and so on. With Jupiter in this part of your chart, my dear Libras, you're also likely to attract into your life supportive people that can help you with all matters connected with work, health, but also your studies. So if you're looking to learn something, if you're looking to study something, it may feel like the right teacher comes into your life sometimes between the 20th of December all the way until the middle of May of next year. So I'm very excited for you when it comes to this transit. Other significant things happening in December. So I'm going to start off from the very beginning of the month. Just because I jumped straight to the 20th of December, this is probably one of the most important astrological events of the month anyway. On the 1st of December, Venus in your 3rd house of communication is opposing Mars in Gemini in the 9th house. So foreign lands, foreign countries, long distance travel, foreigners. So it may feel like even though you're trying to compromise and reach an agreement with someone on the legal matters. So when it comes to legal developments in your life, maybe when it comes to a contract of some sorts, you might just feel like they aren't playing nice at all. You might just feel like they are being very antagonistic and they're saying no to your efforts to meet them halfway. So it's not necessarily the best of days to reach an agreement. You've got better days ahead of you. There could also be some frustration that you experience on the road around this time, my dear Libras. So you could encounter quite an angry energy on the road. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong. It might just mean that people are angry out there and they're in a rush to get somewhere. 2nd of December, Mercury in your 3rd house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 6th house of day-to-day work. You may feel a little bit confused about a conversation that you're having with a colleague at work. They might not get what you're trying to say. You might not get what they want from you. So it's all a little bit up in the air. Clarify, and clarify some more, because I don't think that you are walking away out of that conversation with a clear message. There could also be some missed, let's say, trains or cancellations or strikes maybe when it comes to transportation that prevent you from getting on time to a work place or to a work-related event. 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in Pisces in your 6th house of day-to-day work, so you may welcome this energy with open arms. It might just feel like it's a little bit clearer as to what is your ideal expectation from your day-to-day work environment. It may also feel like a situation that is very ambiguous, that was very ambiguous connected with your work, is starting to clear up. Also on the same day, the Sun is trining Chiron in Aries in your 7th house. It feels like someone is finally on your side on this day. Maybe when it comes to something that has to do, Libras, with your plans for the future. You might also just have a very kind of like uplifting encounter with a friend that makes you feel better about some of the more frustrating things that have been happening at work for you. 6th of December, Mercury enters Capricorn in your 4th house of home and living situation. So you might be thinking a lot about home-related matters. You might be calling family members. You might be talking to them a lot on the phone. You might be even planning your visit to see family members. Now, the interesting thing, Libras, is that Mercury goes retrograde on the 29th of December in this part of your chart, all the way until the 18th of January. So you may feel like some of the conversations that you're having with family members between the end of January, the end of December until the 18th of January, you might not feel like they're getting somewhere, especially conversations that you may feel like they're not going anywhere. You're not on the same page, especially conversations that have to do with politics, that have to do with general life philosophy. So you might be seeing life very differently compared to them. If you are traveling with family members or to see family members towards the end of December, so from the 29th until the 18th of January, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and it's not that bad, let's be fair. Mercury retrograde many times is just a little bit annoying and frustrating. So if you're traveling to see family members, or if you're traveling with family members, there might be all sorts of delays along the way. There might be canceled flights and stuff like that. What I would utilize the energy of the Mercury retrograde for, from the 29th of December until the 18th of January, is the following. I would have some conversations that you've been meaning to have with your family for some time about the following. Maybe about something that has caused you great suffering and maybe something that you have kept to yourself. I would also have some conversations with them about maybe long distance traveling. If you're planning any long distance trips, you might also feel like you need to pick back up where you left off, a conversation about your academic future, dear Libras. Now, if we go back in time, on the 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, you're experiencing a full moon in Gemini, activating your 3rd house, 9th house axis, which is the axis of learning, of traveling. It is also an axis of selling and buying, contracts, making legal arrangements and agreements. This full moon is a little bit of a tricky one. It's a mixed bag. On the one hand, you could be wrapping something up in terms of your education. So you could be wrapping up a course, you could be wrapping up a class, you could be handing in your final thesis, your final assessments, and so on. You might be in a rush to hand these in. So you might rush and miss some details, potentially. I wouldn't recommend going in too fast, just because Mars is retrograde and it will be conjunct the moon. There could also be news that comes to you around this time that you have to retake an exam or that you have to resubmit an assessment. Now, both luminaries, the sun and the moon, are nicely aspected to Saturn and Aquarius in your 5th house. So even if there are some frustrations about having to resubmit an exam, even if the result that you're getting, if you are waiting to hear news about exam outcomes, even if the result that you're getting isn't 100% what you expected it to be, I dare say that in the long run, it is still helping you achieve one of your goals. In the long run, the frustration, maybe the having to redo something, it's very nicely aspected to Saturn, so it helps you somehow kind of crystallize maybe the information, make better use of it, do better the second time around. So even though initially you might get a little bit annoyed, I would look into the future and be like, oh, this is actually helping me, because it does seem to be helping you in one form or another. For those of you who have kids, you may take a significant decision around this time connected with your education. Something really seems to have rubbed you the wrong way. So maybe you are angry at, I don't know, the school, the system that they're in, and you decide enough is enough, I'm going to move them to another school. In the long run, it might actually work very, very well for your child. If you're traveling around this time, especially long distance traveling, I would be prepared for some back and forth, and maybe also for some misunderstandings when it comes to legal documents, passports, visas, and so on. I would triple, quadruple check that you have all the visas that you need, that you have your passport in a secure place, that you have insurance around this time, just to save you from some headaches, my dear Libras. 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus moves through Capricorn. Again, Venus kind of because it's your chart ruler, makes you feel very invested in matters that have to do with home, with family life. You may actually enjoy spending time with family. You may also enjoy redecorating the house, buying nice things for the house, maybe also welcoming people into your home with Venus in this part of your chart. On the 14th of December, we have a sun in your third house, squaring Neptune and Pisces in the sixth house of day-to-day work. You may discover that an error was made at work. Now, I dare say that you may feel angry, but mostly disappointed because you possibly trusted someone a lot and they didn't really do a good job. But I don't know if there is anything that they can do to fix it. Now you might have to fix the situation yourself. On the 17th of December, some really pleasant surprise making its way to you from a family member, or something like a surprise, maybe a surprise gift that is making its way to you. Connected with your home, connected with maybe something nice for the home. You might also feel like you're getting an aha moment. I don't want to call it a revelation, connected with something that just didn't click into place in your head about your past, and now you're seeing it in a new light, and you're like, oh, it makes so much sense. So I no longer need to feel bad about this, or I no longer need to suffer about this. Also, a family member could help you very unexpectedly with an issue that you've been dealing with for some time, connected with legal matters, a court of law, maybe your academic future, and so on. 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in Capricorn. By the way, the sun entered Capricorn in your fourth house of home. So again, the spotlight is being placed on family and home-related matters. On the 21st of December for the next month, 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, a new moon in your fourth house of home, a new beginning connected with your home and family life, squaring Jupiter. It's maybe a new beginning that you feel excited about, but at the same time, it feels like a lot. It feels like a significant growth. It feels like an expansion when it comes to the family, or when it comes to your living situation. It somehow seems to involve your partner as well. Maybe this is the time when you're presenting a partner to your family. Maybe this is the time when a partner proposes to you that you move in together. Maybe this is the time when you hear news of your siblings having a baby. It seems to take you a little bit by surprise. It seems to make you feel a little bit anxious about the fast developments unfolding in this area. But I'd say that overall, it does seem to be good news. Enjoy December, Libras. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, my dear Scorpios, what does December have in store for you? Well, first and foremost, Jupiter, the great benefic, on the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, re-enters your sixth house of day-to-day work, and Jupiter Scorpios for you is the ruler of your second house of income and of your fifth house of enjoyment. Okay, Scorpios, this is very important to make use of. I'm preaching here, right? Take it or leave it, free will, do whatever you please with this information. But Jupiter going back into your sixth house is saying you have the opportunity until the middle of May of next year to get a job, to start a job, to initiate a work-related project that is better paid and that allows you to tap into your creative skills and passions and to monetize your hobbies or something that you're very passionate about. Do not, that's my recommendation. Again, do not sleep on this transit because it's not a transit that happens very often. Jupiter has been in your sixth house for a little bit of time, from the end of May, from the 10th of May actually, until the end of October. But it went retrograde at the end of July, so it may have felt like new opportunities work-wise slowed down. Now Jupiter is direct. It's blowing wind in your sails. It's saying you can be paid more. You can do a job that you enjoy more. So I would apply for new jobs. I would start new work-related projects, and especially after Mars gets out of retrograde, which is happening on the 12th of January next year. But you could be feeling very enthusiastic about new opportunities work-wise, my dear Scorpios. Another very important event happening in December. Let's see. A full moon in Gemini on the 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, activating your financial axis. It's forming a harmonious aspect to the full moon with Saturn in Aquarius in the fourth house of home, but the moon is conjunct Mars. Okay, so around this time, you may realize that you may have an epiphany about your financial situation. You might be like, I need to make more money now. I've paid a significant debt off. You might be paying a significant debt off around this time. You might be taking care of a loan. You might be paying off your credit card. You might be paying off taxes. You might have to deal with taxes. You could be receiving a significant piece of news connected with your mortgage, connected with the property sector. It's almost like this full moon is giving you a push to think bigger financially. Probably also because your expenses are bigger, I dare say. You may also fork out a significant amount of money connected with a property matter, a family matter, which again seems to be motivation for you to just look for what's out there work-wise and say, yeah, I'm like aiming higher. Why? Because I can and because I'm capable and talented and very, very skilled. You might have to take care of an old expense around this time, something that has been on your radar for a while. Maybe also an expense connected with your health in some shape or form, Scorpios. Another important event this month is the new moon in Capricorn on the 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, in your third house of communication, of lessons, of learnings, of tangible practical skills that you're kind of like absorbing with your logical mind. The third house is also the house of transportation, sales. Did I say sales? Forgive me if I'm repeating myself. And this new moon is squaring Jupiter and Aries in your sixth house of day-to-day work. I believe that you're going to start learning something new, a new skill that you can apply into your work because you want to do better. You may also hear news of having to take on board new responsibilities at work, which is okay because you can probably ask for a raise and you're probably going to get it. But you may have to learn a new skill or work with a broader, wider team and have to kind of like push yourself to communicate in a slightly different way, in a new way, my dear Scorpios. Let's see. You might also need to start commuting for a new role around this time, Scorpios. I dare say that you're also starting to put into practice at the time of this new moon. And remember, astrology is only archetypally predictive. It doesn't predict exact material manifestation. You might be kicking off a new practice of going about your daily health and wellness routines differently. So maybe you're starting to eat in a different way. Maybe you're starting to work out in a different way. Maybe you're being exposed to these new ideas that challenge what you thought about your health. By the way, speaking of health, with Jupiter in your sixth house from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, you are very nicely supported to kick off a new healthy routine in your life, to be more physically active. You may feel like being more physically active, by the way. Mercury on the 29th of December until the 18th of January goes retrograde in your third house. This is interesting. Mercury for you rules your 8th house and your 11th house. It may feel like conversations about your plans for the future are being slowed down a little bit. Maybe communications with a new team at work is being slowed down. You might also be slowing down a bit when it comes to investments and when it comes to new opportunities for investments. I would not necessarily advise investing throughout this period with Mercury retrograde, especially Scorpio risings. Mercury is the ruler of your 8th house of investments. You may have to have some challenging conversations with siblings that you've had in the past, so you may have to pick them back up. If you were looking to secure a deal, to buy or to sell something, with Mercury retrograde in your third house, it might be slowed down until the 18th of January. I would also read things very, very carefully. And I would definitely, but it's up to you, I would not buy cars with Mercury retrograde in your third house. I wouldn't buy gadgets, I wouldn't buy phones, because they might just bring with them some faulty, I don't know, like issues. You may have to repair them and so on. So I would postpone buying gadgets, buying phones, cars, and so on, maybe even bikes, all the way until at least the 18th, 19th of January of next year. Other significant dates in December, Scorpios. Let's see. On the 1st of December, Venus in your second house of income is opposing Mars and Gemini in your 8th house. Someone seems to be asking you to pay more for something than you thought it would cost. Maybe something connected with your health, wellness, and well-being. Or you may just feel like you have to buy someone a round of drinks at work, and it's kind of like burning a hole in your pocket. It's like more than you signed up for in terms of expenses. 2nd of December, maybe some challenging conversations with a child, especially if you have children when it comes to money. You could also overspend for 5th house matters, such as fun on this day. I would be very careful how much you pay for something. I would be very careful to read the receipts, to read the bills for anything that you are paying for around this time, Scorpios. Just because you might have been charged the wrong amount. On the 4th of December, we've got Venus in your second house squaring Neptune in Pisces. Again, there is kind of like a tendency to be a little bit excessive with expenses for fun, for gifts, maybe for even spiritual matters. I wanna say. We talked about the full moon coming up on the 8th of December. On the 10th of December, Venus moves into Capricorn until the 3rd of January. So Venus for you, my dear Scorpios, is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. It may feel like you're having some very productive conversations, both with business partners and with life partners, about what you're looking to build together all the way until the 3rd of January. It might also feel much easier for you to make yourself understood, to make yourself liked when it comes to persuading someone to buy into something. You might also reconnect with colleagues or have literally just kind of like a good time in a social setup, especially a social setup that involves an element of work and business all the way until the 3rd of January. I'm liking the 12th of December because you seem to buy something important, something useful for the long run for the house. Very, very possible. Or you could be helping a parent or a family member with money and it feels good because it feels like, yes, this is the right thing to do. I am also liking the 17th of December when Mercury in your 3rd house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 7th house. It feels like you're making a deal very quickly, or you're selling something very quickly, or you're finding the right person to buy something from very, very quickly and very kind of like unexpectedly. Also, your partner might have a bit of a surprise for you on this day, especially if you're in a relationship, my dear Scorpios. A surprise that maybe involves a group type of event, maybe going out to a concert or something like that. And let's see. Do be careful if you can with money and expenses and just kind of like going a little bit overboard. On the 14th of December, you might be a little bit disappointed on the 14th of December because you have certain, let's say, expectations when it comes to your lifestyle and when it comes to maintaining a certain social status. But at the same time, it may feel like what's happening in your bank account right now isn't really in alignment with the status that you want to maintain. Hence why, as I said, Jupiter in your 6th house of day-to-day work is saying you can make more. You are supported in that. That is December for you, Scorpios. My dear Sagittarius, Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings. December, folks. December is a very interesting month. I am excited for the fact that Jupiter, your ruler, the great benefic, the great protector, the bringer of opportunities, Jupiter is going back into Aries in your 5th house on the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year. Jupiter has already been in this part of your chart from the 10th of May until the end of October. And it's now coming back from Pisces into Aries for its last leg of the journey through the fire sign ruled by Mars, and it's not going to come back to this part of your chart for another 12 years. Now, why am I excited for Jupiter coming back into Aries? This is going to be a very fun time. I'm like, Yeah, that's probably one of the main reasons why I am thinking that you're really going to enjoy this transit, Sagittarius. You may feel like there's an increase in your levels of creativity, of inspiration, of enjoyment. You are generally a sign that knows how to enjoy life, that knows how to be spontaneous, that knows how to have fun. But with Jupiter in your 5th house, it may feel like the fun is kind of like becoming gigantic. It's taking steroids for fun, right? I would also say that Jupiter transiting this part of your chart is very supportive when it comes to the following. When it comes to initiating new, exciting, creative projects. Also when it comes to maybe finding a new passion, finding a new hobby. I want to say finding a new aspect of life to get excited about, to fuel your fire. This is also a very supportive aspect for those of you who are looking to maybe get pregnant or have a baby in some shape or form. So bring that energy into your life. The 5th house is also the house of romantic love. So did I mention that this is a great transit for people who are out there looking to find their one true love and also looking to enjoy the process of finding their romantic partner. It's a great transit to have fun with romantic partners. It is a great transit to travel for fun, to travel for pleasure, but also to take some risks, to take some chances, especially when it comes to romance, when it comes to creative projects. So to step a little bit out of your comfort zone in this direction, Sagittarius. And especially, you may feel inspired to do so after Mars is going to go out of retrograde on the 12th of January next year. So it's probably one of the most important transits of the month. We got that out of the way, Sagittarius. Now let's go in chronological order. 1st of December, by the way, all the way until the 10th of December, you have Venus transiting your 1st house of identity, of the physical body. So you may feel very magnetic, very attractive. You may also feel like you want to, spend money on nice clothes or on getting some sort of procedures that are aesthetically enhancing and so on. I would, however, stay away from needles and sharp tools, especially around the 1st of December, maybe a couple of days before, a couple of days after. On the 1st of December, Venus is opposing Mars and Gemini in the 7th house. You may also feel a little bit attacked on the 1st of December, Sagittarius, possibly for your style, for your aesthetic, for your looks somehow. So there's probably going to be people that, what's going on here? There's probably going to be people that don't necessarily have the same tastes that you have. And that's absolutely okay, I want to say. But they might actually be quite quick to express their antagonistic opinions towards you. Then on the 2nd of December, you may have a bit of a confusing conversation or maybe a disappointing conversation with a family member. It doesn't necessarily have to be disappointing, but you might have a conversation with a family member and leave the room feeling lost. It's like, what is the message and what am I trying to get out of this? You might also feel like hiding something from a family member on this day. Maybe something that has to do with your relationship sector. Now you have your reasons. I'm not questioning them, and you also have your free will. I'm not questioning that either. On the 4th of December, Neptune goes direct in your 4th house of home, so it may feel like a confusing matter connected with a parent, connected with your family life, connected with your living situation. It may feel like it is starting to look much better and you're starting to gain some clarity, some objectivity when it comes to it. The sun on this day is going to be trining Chiron in Aries in the 5th house. So it may feel like you are healing from something that hurt you, connected with a parent, connected with your past maybe, or connected with your living situation, my dear Sagittarius. On the 6th of December, Mercury enters Capricorn in your second house of income. So you might be having a lot of conversations until the end of the month, actually, and well into January. You may be having some important conversations with partners, both life partners and business partners, about money and about how well you are getting paid. Mercury is also the ruler of your 10th house of career, so you may be more kind of like matter of fact with bosses, with clients, with those that you work with. You might be a bit more matter of fact about how much you are owed and how much you are worth. So you could feel inspired to ask for a raise, especially Sagittarius, around the 23rd of December, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, when you have a new moon in your second house of income in Capricorn. This one is squaring Jupiter in Aries in the 5th house. So what I'm seeing here is a new beginning at the time of this new moon, financially. So you could welcome a raise in your life. You could welcome more money into your life. You could start making more money at this point in time, and you could also start making more money by tapping into one of your creative talents and projects. But it also feels like you are called to stretch yourself creatively in order to make the most of this opportunity. I dare say. This could also, this new moon could also bring a new beginning financially, where you have to reevaluate your budget because something has been developing in the area of children, especially for those of you who have children. There may be some new expenses making their way into your life, so you may have to look at what comes into your account, what goes out of your account, and you might need to make some judgment calls in this particular sector. Interestingly enough, Mercury also goes retrograde in your second house of income from the 29th of December until the 18th of January. So conversations, significant conversations around money, significant conversations around new sources of income, maybe even the promise of a raise might be postponed all the way until the second half of January, all the way until after the 18th of January. If you were offered a job, or if you were offered a new lucrative opportunity, it might be put on hold, Sagittarians, with Mercury retrograde. So it may feel for a while that the conversations are going nowhere. It's a possibility. That doesn't mean that it will not materialize in a positive way. It just means that there might be some delays. You may also want to go back and reopen some conversations around money and payment with your boss or with someone that you're working with and that is having kind of like this say over the work that you produce, Sagittarius. I would definitely be careful what you spend your money on when Mercury is retrograde in your second house. There could be some misunderstandings connected with finances. I would check your bank statement. I would check your cards to make sure that you're not charged twice. There could also be some delays in you getting paid. Maybe you were waiting for a contractor to pay you and they go silent over the holidays, and then in January they're like, here I am. I'm back. That could also very, very well happen. Now let's go a little bit back in time because I jumped right into the new moon of the month. On the 8th of December, so a little bit earlier, we have a full moon in Gemini. 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, full moon activating your 7th house of relationships. Now, if I go a little bit back in time, this might be an angry full moon. I'm just gonna put it out there. You might have a quarrel, you might have an argument, you might have this sort of like open conflict, this face-off with a partner, be it a business partner or a romantic partner. Now, whatever the nature of the conflict and whatever the nature of the conversation, my big recommendation is to keep your eyes on the long term, to say the things, to expose the things in conversation that are going to contribute to the development long-term wise of this relationship in whatever way you want to see it develop. So if you are feeling like this relationship needs to come to an end business-wise, you no longer want to collaborate with a client, or you no longer want to collaborate with someone such as a stakeholder, I would voice that. Now, if you want this to work for the long term, let's put it this way. I recommend that you keep your calm, because the person in front of you might not keep their calm. They might actually say some hurtful things. I'm just gonna put it out there. You may feel a little bit attacked. I do think that it's possible for you to be the bigger person, however, because this person that you're talking to and that is being very antagonistic towards you, they might just be feeling hurt. They might just be needing more attention on your side, and they could come across as too harsh. I would also look back at what was going on in your life relationship-wise, so in the area of partnerships, business partnerships, romantic partnerships, around the 30th of May this year, also the 3 days before, 3 days after, because that's when you had a new moon in the 7th house of relationships. So something is coming to a culminating point at the time of this full moon relationship-wise. From the 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus transits Capricorn in your 2nd house of income. So I told you there's prospects for you to make more money. I told you there's prospects for you to feel better compensated. Venus is also for you Sagittarians, the ruler of your 6th house and of your 11th house of collaborations. You can basically, until the 3rd of January, receive an offer to collaborate with a wider group of people on this very exciting project, work-wise. But then, like I said, there could be some misunderstandings or a slowdown or some delays when it comes to the project moving forward when Mercury goes retrograde at the end of the month. You might also feel inspired to spend money on nice things, Sagittarius, with Venus moving through your 2nd house. So maybe to buy tickets to concerts, to a group type of event, maybe also to spend money on something that makes you feel good. So maybe like a new workout gear, something along those lines. Remember that astrology does not predict exact material manifestation, so I can't tell you exactly how you're going to spend your money. That is completely your choice. And let's see what else is going on here. I'm liking the 17th of December because Mercury in your 2nd house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 6th house. You seem to be reaching very quickly and very surprisingly so a positive and auspicious agreement connected with your financial situation. You could also be sealing the deal super quickly, Sagittarius. Now, if you are a Capricorn Sun or a Capricorn Rising, my lovely Capricorns, what does December have in store for you? Well, it's got a lot in store for you, as it has for everyone else. It's a much more chilled month, I want to say, compared to November. Jupiter, the great benefic, the ruler of your 12th house and of your 3rd house of communication, is entering your 4th house of home. What does that mean? And by the way, the 3rd house is also the house of sales. So with Jupiter re-entering your 4th house of home and family and property and real estate, from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year, you may pick back up where you left off. Some conversations that you started with significant people in your family life, significant people that could be family members. You could be picking back up where you left off. Conversations that have to do with either expanding the family, adding new family members, or moving to a bigger place. You could also be picking back up where you left off. The process of purchasing or selling a property, or both. And you are actually very auspiciously aspected to both buy and sell a property all the way until the middle of May of next year, but especially after Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January. Now, when I say you might pick back up where you left off old conversations, you might have started some of these conversations, or you might have had these thoughts to like move into a new home, or like sell your home, purchase a new property, maybe to expand the family. You might have had these conversations between the 10th of May until the end of October, when Jupiter was also transiting this part of your chart. Now, after Jupiter gets out of Aries, middle of May of next year, it's not going to come back into this part of your chart for another 12 years. That's why it might be a good idea to really, and of course, you have free will, you can do whatever you please. But it might be a good idea to really take a step back and ask yourselves, Capricorns, is it time for a new beginning, home and family-wise, and living situation-wise? And if the answer is yes, then maybe, just maybe, you might want to get the ball rolling. Maybe put an ad out there, maybe start looking at real estate websites, and so on. Now, I know I'm going to go back in time right now. I jumped straight to the 20th of December. 1st of December, Venus and Sagittarius in your 12th house is opposing Mars and Gemini in the 6th house. You feel somehow betrayed by someone at work. I do believe you may have some disappointing conversations at work where you feel like someone is trying to push their agenda onto you. Someone isn't necessarily very respectful of your authority. You might feel like your authority is actually challenged. My dear Capricorns, my apologies. Give me 1 second to drink a little bit of water. So you might feel like your authority is being challenged a little bit around this time. Capricorns, on the 2nd of December, Mercury, the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work, is squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 3rd house. It really feels like someone maybe has been lying to you at work, or has been hiding things from you, or there have been some developments and some conversations that maybe happened behind your back that are coming to the surface now, and they seem to be quite hurtful, I dare say, because maybe you didn't necessarily expect these people to say the things that they said. You could also be feeling a little bit lost in terms of how to navigate the team that you're in on this particular day at work, on the 2nd of December. Then on the 4th of December, let's see. Neptune goes direct in your 3rd house of communication, so it may feel like a fog is being lifted communications-wise. However, Venus in your 12th house is still squaring Neptune and Pisces in the 3rd house. When it comes to addressing a boss or someone in a position of authority, you might still not know exactly how to approach this person, what words to use, so you could still be feeling a little bit like I'm walking on eggshells when it comes to having conversations with this kind of like authority figure, I would say. 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your axis of service and work. A few things may happen here. Some of you might leave your job, Capricorns. Some of you might decide to confront someone at work to say, listen, enough is enough. I am done with this. Some of you might also decide to take some time off, to spend some more time focusing on personal matters. I wouldn't necessarily say that this decision to take a little bit of time off is going to be fully welcomed by everyone at work. There could actually be some hurtful comments, like I said, or some people getting like annoyed and frustrated, but that's not your problem, is it? This full moon is actually quite nicely aspected to Saturn, your chart ruler. So you know your worth, you know what you're capable of, you know how valued you are, you know how valuable you are. I mean, sometimes you just gotta let people talk and just do their thing. You can do you. This could also be a time when you're making some form of announcement at work of a significant restructuring of the team, so that's a possibility. It can also be a time when you feel fully depleted physically. I mean, you might feel like this is it, you need to take a break. You're probably quite tired. There's been a lot of mental stress at work, and you might just need to take it slow and take a bit of a step back and say, is it worth me putting all this pressure on myself? Is it worth me kind of like joining the... I was about to say something quite nasty. Joining the packs of headless chickens that are running around and like chasing their tails and being like completely unintentional about what they're trying to achieve. I think it's not worth it, but that's completely up to you. Hashtag sarcasm. Sorry, are my jokes very cheesy? I feel like they are, but hey, it is who I am. It is genuinely who I am. I kid you not. 10th of December, Venus moves into Capricorn in your first house. I like this. I like this because you're starting to feel much better about yourself. You're starting to feel recharged, re-energized. You're feeling better in your skin, in your body. You're feeling attractive. You're feeling magnetic. You're feeling like you want to maybe socialize more. You're also feeling much more comfortable in communication and conversation with bosses and with people in positions of authority. It's a great time from the 10th of December until the 3rd of January to maybe buy nice clothes for yourself, to treat yourself to like a new haircut, a new hair color, and so on. I'm also liking the 17th of December, when Mercury in your first house of identity is very nicely aspected to Uranus and Taurus in the 5th house. You seem to be having a lot of fun, maybe actually at work or with work colleagues. So you could be attending like a social event around this time, work related. That is super fun. Let's see what else is happening in December. 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn, so in your own sign. The spotlight is being placed on you, but how is it being placed on you? The sun is the ruler of your 8th house. It might feel a little bit harder to hide your secrets, Capricorns. It might also feel like you can't keep to yourself anymore. Some of the things that you kept secret, you might be like, you know what, I'm just gonna share it with the world. That's it. I can no longer hold this in for the next month or so. You're feeling very exposed for the next month or so, from the 21st of December onwards. On the 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in your first house in a square to Jupiter in your 4th house of home. It feels like a personal new beginning is taking shape, is taking place around this time, Capricorns. And it does seem to be very strongly linked with your home and family life. Maybe you're making an announcement that you're moving someplace else. Maybe you're also realizing that your image and your position in the world and how the world looks at you is going to change as a result of significant changes happening at home. Maybe you're also you could be feeling like you're ready to approach conversations, communications, interactions with family members differently. You might feel also ready to present a new you to the family, maybe to make some significant announcements to the family, possibly about something that's been going on behind the scenes. So you might announce to the family, listen, I quit my job. That's it. Deal with it. I mean, obviously it's your decision, but it could, you might feel a little bit under the spotlight and also a little bit mentally stressed about making what feels like a risky announcement to the family. And last but not least, 29th of December, Mercury goes retrograde in your first house until the 18th of January. Mercury is the ruler of your 6th house and of your 9th house. You might have almost like this feeling that you're not exactly super clear as to what the next steps are for you work-wise, Capricorns, or you may second guess yourselves, or you may have doubts about the decisions that you have taken work-wise. If you need to take a decision connected with work or with traveling and education, I would, if possible, postpone it until after the Mercury retrograde is over, because at the end of the retrograde, you might end up changing your mind. You might also have to deal with an old health-related issue once again. It's not new. It could be something that you addressed a while back and now you have to address it again. It's like, okay, I need to deal with this. I have taken a rain check for way too many times. My dear Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings, what can you expect from December 2022, the last month of this year? Well, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of short distance travel, very, very likely, especially after the 20th of December, when Jupiter comes back into your 3rd house of communications, of short distance traveling, of comings and goings, of your local community. Jupiter expands everything it touches, and it's going to be in this sector of your chart all the way until May of 2023, until the middle of May of 2023. Jupiter is also going to give you a lot of energy and almost like this appetite, this hunger for more knowledge, for maybe taking more classes and courses. It's also going to help you because Jupiter is generally quite helpful. Let's face it, it's the great benefic that we're talking about. Jupiter is also going to be super helpful in case you're writing something. So if you have some form of like assignment or a writing project of any shape or form, you've got the wind in your sails with Jupiter in this part of your chart. I want to say that it may feel like you can tap into its energy much better, especially after Mars gets out of retrograde in Gemini on the 12th of January. But saying that, you could also pick back up where you left off, maybe an outstanding writing project, maybe a creative project that you kicked off at some point this summer, and now you're like, okay, I need to get this done, I need to get this over the finish line. Jupiter transiting your third house may also encourage you from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year to take to take your driver's license exam, or to learn how to drive, to take classes. You might also feel inspired to possibly learn a new language. Jupiter is also the ruler of your 11th house, so you might be putting a lot more conscious energy into connecting with like-minded individuals that can really help you, I want to say, monetize your skills better, and that really make you feel valued and appreciated, Aquarius. Now, let me go a little bit back in time because I got overexcited about Jupiter going back into Aries. On the 1st of December, Aquarius, Venus is opposing Mars in Gemini in the 5th house. You might have a quarrel with a friend. It's very, very possible. Around differing worldviews, around differing belief systems, around differing life philosophies. It could be a quarrel around political beliefs, for instance. That's certainly very, very possible. You might also feel a little bit annoyed with a friend for doing nothing, for being too complacent in a situation where you think action would be required, assertiveness would be required. Then on the 2nd of December, there could be a misunderstanding, again with a friend or with a group of people or in a group type of setup. There could be a misunderstanding around money. So for instance, if you're going out for dinner or if you're going out for a night into town, I would double check that everyone has paid the right amount on their bill because you might end up paying more. There could also be this type of development that you experience, Aquarius, around the 2nd of December. You might end up spending a lot of money, much more than you intended, on fun activities in a group type of setup. I do recommend checking your bank account first before you start, I don't know, like buying rounds for everyone. Just putting it out there. I'm not the one to ruin the fun, but hey, my Capricorn moon feels like, but first, let's take care of the essentials. On the 4th of December, Venus in the 11th house is squaring Neptune and Pisces in your 2nd house. It may feel like you have to compromise a little bit on something that you consider valuable in order to fit in order to fit within a group of people, possibly a group of people that you're hanging out with. I want to say, Aquarius, that you're hanging out with because you've got some sort of like common history, or you've known each other for a long time, or you've been friends since childhood, and you might feel like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this thing that is important to me, or I'm not necessarily going to stand up for this thing that is valuable to me because I do not want to spoil the fun, essentially. On the 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon activating your 5th house, 11th house axis in a harmonious aspect to Saturn in your 1st house of identity. But the moon is conjunct Mars. Aquarius, I think this might be a time when you cut someone out of your life, you cut a friend out of your life, or you realize that you no longer resonate with a specific group of people. You feel more mature, you feel in a different place in your life, you feel like you have outgrown them. You could also wrap up a creative project around this time, maybe something that you initiated, that you began sometimes around the end of May, around the 30th of May, maybe week before, week after, a few days before, a few days after the 30th of May. This could also be a time when a matter connected with children, maybe something that has been frustrating you, that has been annoying you, something that you've kind of like talked about with a lot of people and kind of like made your point and pushed things around, taken action, you've made things happen. It might feel like something of this nature is coming to a culminating point. So finally, it could feel like you're seeing results, but I dare say the results that you're seeing are not probably going to make you 100% happy. It might feel like a win, so it might feel like you've won a battle, but at the same time you realize that there's only so much that you can influence other people's decisions and behaviors, I dare say. This could also be a time when you have some sort of disagreement with a friend about your relationship sector, and you might decide to kind of like take the high ground, let's say, and be the bigger person and say, okay, that's what you believe and I get it, it's not logical, it doesn't make sense, but I'm just going to leave you to it. On the 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus transits Capricorn in your 12th house. This is a great time to unwind, to slow down, to go for a vacation, to take some days off, to spend time away from the crowd, to maybe even travel with family members, but somewhere quiet, maybe to a retreat of some sorts. You might also feel like you want to retreat back into your home and just kind of like spend time with people that know you, that know the full you, where you don't have to watch your words, where you don't have to, I don't want to say pretend, because I'm not trying to say that you're pretending to be someone that you're not, but sometimes social conventions can be very tiring and exhausting. So enjoy the silence and the retreat, my dear Aquarians, throughout this period, if you can. On the 14th of December, we have a bit of a tricky situation. I want to say a confusing situation that involves money and maybe a business partner. So if you're signing anything, if you're agreeing to anything, Aquarius, do triple check that you are on the same page with this person, because you might have understood one thing and they understood another thing, especially when it comes to money and payments. Then on the 17th of December, I like this. You seem to have an epiphany in private at home. You seem to have almost like this brilliant creative idea. You also seem to get a lot done that involves writing, that involves maybe learning in a private setup at home. And you could also feel like a family member offers some sort of a brilliant, some sort of a genius solution when it comes to a matter that has been plaguing you. I want to say either in relation to your kids, or in relation to a creative project, or in relation to maybe a debt or a loan. And a family member could be like, here you go. Also, a family member could have a surprise gift for you, by the way. And I think you're going to like it. Because sometimes we receive gifts and we're like, what is this? You don't even know me. Just saying. On the 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn for the next month, and the spotlight is being placed on unwinding, retreating, letting go, spending time in I don't want to say in isolation, but away from the world, or maybe just with a partner, my dear Aquarius. On the 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a new moon in your 12th house of private life, of surrender, of past lives, of dreaming, of also sacrifice and selfless service. This new moon is in a tense aspect to Jupiter and Aries in your 3rd house. You might decide around this time, it may feel like a new beginning, where you decide to approach tricky conversations in which you're being challenged, conversations in which you know you're going to face someone that has a different worldview other than yours. You may decide to approach it with a different mindset, maybe with a more kind of like mature mindset, more careful in terms of what you say, what words you use. You could also start learning something around this time. You may feel inspired to sign up to a course, a class that has something to do with your mental health, or that has something to do with spirituality, for instance. It could be a time when you start writing something behind the scenes as as well. And you may also become much more aware and start learning more about your blind spots, especially your blind spots when you are kind of like pushing for your opinions, strong, powerful opinions, to be heard and to be adhered to. So you might realize, oh wow, this is why I wasn't being persuasive, because I was doing all of these things and I was basically shooting myself in the foot. 29th of December until the 18th of January, Mercury goes retrograde in your 12th house, so you might have some old recurring dreams. You might think of the past a lot. You might think of what you have lost in the past, especially what you have lost or who you have lost romantically, possibly. You might think of old romances. There could be a kind of like a blast from the past coming up, and it could kind of like rattle your world a little bit, but maybe you're gonna keep it quite private. This person who you most likely were romantically involved with might mess a little bit with your mental health. You might be like, oh, I was being so calm and in such a good place, and now this person comes and I think of the past and of what could have been, of what should have been, and so on. There could also be some delays or some frustrations due to factors that you did not see coming. From the 29th of December until the 18th of January, when it comes to matters that have to do with loans, mortgages, other people's money, shared assets, shared resources, joint assets, joint resources. If you're trying to get clarity on these matters, I don't know if you're going to get it until the 18th of January, or things might just kind of like screech to a halt, to a point of stagnation. You might also have to possibly give up on something that you pushed very hard for, connected with a loan, a mortgage, or a lump sum of money. Or you could feel a little bit disappointed as to where it is now. And that, Aquarius, is December for you. My dear Pisces, Pisces suns and Pisces risings. Let's see what December has in store for you. Let's see. Well, there's a lot going on in your career sector and in your home and private life and family sector this month, I can tell you this. But before we talk about that, let me give you some really good news. I hope you're gonna like it. The super good news is the following. Jupiter, the great benefic and the planet of expansion and of opportunities, is coming back into your second house of income from the 20th of December until the middle of May of next year. What does that mean? Until the middle of May of next year, you are being supported in making more money, asking for more money, going for a better paid job, starting to charge more if you have your own business, starting to charge more, and especially to charge more after, if I am to make another recommendation, to charge more after Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January, because Mars is the ruler of your second house. You might also start spending some money, but you're very excited to do this. So you might start spending more money, I want to say, on home-related matters throughout this period, Pisces, because you're making more money. So why not? Your life deserves an upgrade, let's say, and your lifestyle deserves an upgrade. You may also feel inspired to really start developing, and not just developing, but monetizing further new talents and new skills from the 20th of December onwards until the middle of May of next year. New sources of income are likely to make their way to you. They will probably require you to take some sort of like risk, because that's the Aries energy. We have a saying, if we don't take risks, if we don't take chances, how can we expect to ever win? Maybe something to be aware of, my dear Pisces. You have experienced Jupiter in this part of your chart from the 10th of May until the end of October. So you might already have some ideas as to how you can make more money, what talents you want to develop further, what new sources of income you can attract in your life. So these ideas might have come to you already from the 10th of May until the 20th of October, but now Mars is retrograde. I'm like, yes, Mars indeed is retrograde, but Jupiter is no longer retrograde, and Mars is going to get out of retrograde, the ruler of your second house of income, on the 12th of January. So it may feel like things are starting to kind of like move forward in these exciting new directions financially. On the 1st of December, so I'm going back in time, Venus in your 10th house of career is opposing Mars and Gemini in your 4th house. You seem to be experiencing some success at work that you're very proud of, and you seem to be having a really good time at work, maybe having fun and so on, but there's someone quite angry with you at home, I feel. Or there could be some disruption at home on this day that requires you to maybe leave some sort of like social situation, social gathering that you were enjoying a lot at work. So let's say you were attending the Christmas party and something breaks in the house and you need to go and fix it straight away because it's a hazard of some sorts. On the 2nd of December, it may feel, so Mercury is squaring Neptune in your 1st house, it may feel like someone doesn't really get you, like a boss doesn't really get you, or you might feel a little bit confused as to how to approach the conversations with someone in a position of power, maybe with a client or with a boss. I wouldn't reach an agreement on this day if possible. I would maybe save it for a little bit later, maybe for after the 6th of December when Mercury moves into Capricorn and it's no longer in Sagittarius, and you can talk about the future more clearly. Let's see. Neptune goes direct on the 4th of December in your 1st house. It may feel like some of the fog around your life direction, around where you're headed, is being lifted. So around where you want to go, where you want to take your life moving forward. So it may feel like that is being lifted. And also if you've been feeling super tired and depleted and just really lethargic, it might feel like that is going away as well, Pisces. On the 8th of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon activating your 4th house of home. Something is coming to culmination and fruition at home, but it does feel like it involves some form of a rupture, or it involves something being thrown away, I dare say. Also, a conflict with family members or with a specific family member might reach this peak, so it might kind of like explode. It might be like, bleh. Even though it could feel very frustrating in the moment and very, I don't want to say scary, but who likes to fight? Who likes to have arguments? In the grand scheme of things, this full moon is nicely aspected to Saturn in the 12th house. So it's kind of like pointing towards something that needs to end at home. And it's for the better. It's for the better in terms of your future, in terms of your future goals, in terms of your future plans. Things might be laid out on the table. You could have a significant argument around this time with a family member around money matters. And even though they might be feeling attacked or you might be feeling hurt about what they say, it's actually a good idea to clear the air and to say the difficult stuff because you don't want it to eat into your relationship moving forward, my dear Pisces. The thing that is coming to a culminating point, the issue that is coming to a culminating point in your private life could be something that you had on your radar as of the 30th of May this year. Also maybe the few days before and the few days after, I dare say. This could also be a time when you're moving into a new place and you might need to make an announcement at work. So maybe you're making an announcement that you can no longer commute into the office, or maybe you're making the announcement that there are some significant developments at home in your private life that require you to step away from a certain role, from a certain position. That is very, very possible. 10th of December until the 3rd of January, Venus transits Capricorn in your 11th house. This is prime time to have fun, to go out, to enjoy life, to be social with friends. So not by yourself, but with others. Social occasions are likely to be very pleasant. You may feel like you attract friends more easily, like people are calling you and so on. You may also feel like calling old friends. That's certainly very possible. You might actually have quite a few encounters with old friends, old colleagues maybe, from school, from work. Between the 29th of December until the 18th of January, when Mercury is retrograde in this part of your chart, my dear Pisces. Speaking of Mercury retrograde, careful not to have disagreements or misunderstandings or take things the wrong way in conversations with friends, I dare say. You might also feel like people are saying one thing, but they mean another thing. You may also feel when Mercury is retrograde, like some of the plans that you had made together with a partner connected with your home life, family life, or living situation, you may feel like they're being delayed or slowed down, or you may feel like you're having these conversations with your partner that about your future that aren't really going anywhere. And don't try to force it. Maybe it's a good idea to sit on it and to reflect and to reevaluate the plans that you had made together, because maybe some things need to be tweaked or edited, Pisces. And obviously, I would not sign contracts or any sort of legal documents when Mercury is retrograde. Anything that has to do with business partnerships or home-related matters, property-related matters, I wouldn't sign these things if you can. If you can postpone them, I would do so. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but you might need to redo the whole thing after Mercury is out of retrograde. So just putting it out there. I like the 17th of December, my dear Pisces. Why? Because you seem to be having some very productive conversations, and you seem to be getting some really cool inspiration and mental stimulation from a group type of setup. So maybe by attending a conference or by attending a class or a course. You might be feeling also very productive on this day in terms of writing together with a group of other people. You could be handing in an exam around this time, or quickly wrapping up, I dare say in a very positive way, something that involves you testing your knowledge. You might also be inspired by the brilliant ideas of a friend around this time, inspired to maybe approach relationships and your home and family life and something connected with the practical aspects of your living situation a little bit differently. So in a more kind of like unconventional or unorthodox manner. Let's see what else is going on. On the 21st of December, the sun moves into Capricorn in your 11th house. So for the next month, like I said, the spotlight is being placed on spending time with your peers, friendships. Also, the spotlight is being placed on plans for the future work-wise and kind of like setting some goals work-wise. I repeat, however, Mercury is going to be retrograde in this part of your chart from the 29th of December until the 18th of January. So you may have to kind of like put a pause and edit some of those plans and some of those goals throughout the Mercury retrograde. On the 22nd of December, Venus in your 11th house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 3rd house. You might have like an impromptu but very pleasant encounter with a group of friends. You may have like a fun time out with people from work, and it may just feel like it's very easy to talk to these people. It may just feel like you're very welcome within this group of people. It can also be a surprisingly kind of like electrifying and exciting day for a date, Pisces. 23rd of December, 3 days before, 3 days after, there is a new moon in your 11th house, squaring Jupiter and Aries in your 2nd house of income. Okay, so Pisces, you're setting some ambitious goals for yourselves around this time. When it comes to your financial situation, when it comes to maybe making more money, also when it comes to maybe monetizing your skills in a new way, you may feel like you need to stretch yourselves in terms of how you've been making money so far, and also in terms of how you've been approaching the whole topic of networking and collaborating with others for lucrative projects. This could be a time also when you join a group of people that inspire you to ask for more. This could also be a time when you reevaluate who you spend your time with, and whether the people that you're spending your time with, the groups of people that you hang out with, whether they are aligned with your new values, the values that I want to say highlight a higher level of appreciation of yourself and you wanting to demand more from the outside world. You could also be introduced to a new group of people at work around this time, and it may feel like you have to stretch yourself in terms of in terms of skills, in terms of communication skills, maybe in terms of how you interact with these people, because maybe you have not hung out with this type of group up until this point in your life, my dear Pisces. And that is December for you. Folks, have a fabulous end of the year. Remember that if you want to work with me, you can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. I'm filming this on the 23rd of November, but I dare say that probably by the time this video is out, I will have already filled up all my slots for personal consultations until the end of 2022. But obviously I'm going to start taking bookings for January straight away. So you can go ahead and book a live session with me for January if you haven't booked in your slot for 2022. Also, remember that you can purchase from my website now the recorded version of the Natal Chart Interpretation Masterclass, which is a masterclass for students of astrology, not beginners, that are looking to polish their natal chart interpretation skills and are looking for a structure to help them synthesize the multiple elements of the natal chart. And don't forget, you can also follow me on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is @RuxUnbelievable. I will see you next time. Bye.